as much as I bully people into streaming, I don't like looking at myself. I love this section because this is actually where the pedal hits the metal here, because it's where everything that you've done kind of comes together, and it really, you kind of think that once you sign that contract, everything's kind of like, they're under contract. Well, that's kind of when the real work starts. I mean, you may have negotiated the contract, you may have negotiated, the buyer, been consulting with the buyer or the seller throughout the process. But it's actually when you get under contract that sometimes the real negotiations start, because not only are you dealing with seller expectations and buyer expectations, now suddenly if you have a buyer who has maybe bought at the very top of his budget, suddenly he's like, well, now what? You have to pay for this, have to pay for that. Just a lot of expectations that ought to be set in the buyer consultation. One of the things that we often find is that buyers are kind of surprised at some of the costs that they are incurring just on the inspections and the appraisals and everything else. A lot of them think, that's going to be, paid for at closing. So basically, this is from the book that Gary Keller wrote called Shift. First part of the real estate process is the hard, focused work of making connections. The second part is the wide-eyed, diligent guardianship of the transaction. And who is the guardian of the transaction?
You are.
Not me.
You are.
And it is, any misstep along the way with your, with deadlines or anything else, and your buyer's earnest money could be at risk, your seller could be at risk at not, closing and having his house off the market for, a period of time.
No, not too much.
Excuse me. So basically, four major parts of a closing. Knowing what is involved in the closing process, what your systems ought to be, what the opportunities are during a closing process, and also, let's face it, we'd like to get paid, right? that's kind of why we're going through this whole thing. Knowing the process is being familiar with it from writing the contract to actually sitting at the closing table. Did y'all go through a mock closing yet? They do it about every 2 months over at Gannett. They actually bring you in, and she goes through the entire process, because sometimes when you go into your first closing, you don't realize buyers are on the left, sellers are on the left, buyers are on the right, and you don't sit next to the attorney. You sit at the end of the table because he's passing papers around. So there's a little bit of a ritual involved. But she takes you through it. She takes you through all the papers that they're having to sign hopefully not one by one, but yeah, at least gives you an idea of what the closing statement looks like. Kind of goes through and explains seller's numbers, buyer's numbers. Yes, ma'am.
Lisa Sluss, the jerk, is in Ireland, so she won't be here today.
The church.
Yeah, that's right.
She went without us.
Oh,
Yeah, she's in Ireland.
That's right. She was
maybe she'll bring us back a t-shirt.
She'll be back Sunday.
Will that session be on our office
It'll
calendar?
be on the office calendars. I mean,
So we look out for it.
we try to do them like once a month, and we can usually do that like in the winter and the fall, but in springtime it's really tough because it takes about an hour.
Right.
That's an
And
hour
they're
other,
real close.
that's an hour other day at the busiest time of year. So, yeah, they try to accommodate us as best they can. Systems, we're gonna kind of go over some of the systems that are used by a lot of different agents as far as being able to keep track of your transaction, both paperless and paper. I think you've all seen this process pretty much at some point, haven't you? The offer, rejection, acceptance, blah, blah, blah. We're kind of in here right now. Because by the time you've gotten through all of the offer and everything, then you're starting to work on deadlines. What is the key date on a contract?
What do
On
you,
a contract?
what do you mean, what's the key date?
What date determines everything else?
When they get the appraisal.
The signatures, when they sign it.
Binding.
Binding agreement.
Oh, binding.
Binding date. And the reason it's the binding date is because for the binding date, all of the deadlines flow.
Okay,
Your-
right.
When is your earnest money due? When is your due diligence over? When is your financing and your appraisal contingencies? All of those dates, flow from that binding agreement, so that it's important to make sure that everybody is in agreement on that binding agreement.
But you don't really have a solid, like you have, I guess when I was looking at it, I totally agree with you, but then the other key date is isn't it after appraisal? Because
They're all key dates.
Well, I guess so, because you could have a title fall through.
They're all key dates.
Yeah, I guess so.
How do you keep it?
Okay.
And that was kind of what I'm trying to emphasize is that, binding date starts the clock running, and every single deadline has consequence.
Okay.
For example, usually the first one we have is inspection. Y'all haven't really done inspections yet.
No.
Okay. Inspections are kind of fun. You're hiring somebody to go out to check this house from tip to toe. They're looking under cabinets, they're looking behind, as many walls as they can get behind, they're looking at everything. The one thing that we find that a lot of buyers aren't aware of is when they get their inspection report back, they tend to freak out because now they're, upwards 50, 60 pages long. Now, you get this 50, 60 page report on your house, and it's like, what? What is wrong with this house? Probably it's fine. But no house is perfect, even brand new houses. People ask me, should I have an inspection on a new construction? Oh yeah, because we did one down here in our area last year. We walked in and the inspector was like looking at the wall. He goes, "Where's the fireproofing?" The contractor looked at him and goes, "What?" He goes, "Where's the fireproofing? It's supposed to be between the two units."
Oh my God.
And they're staring at each other, and all of a sudden the contractor's like on the phone.
Oh, wow.
But we had scheduled it because it was new construction, so we had scheduled a couple of different inspections so they could see systems. That's the first thing that the inspector said. Where's the? We're all like looking at each other.
Is this between townhomes,
Uh-huh.
connected townhomes?
So anyway, it was one of the first ones. So hopefully they got that squared away.
Hopefully.
But like things like that. It's but also just little things like GFCI outlets. Newer homes are kind of common, but you know, if you have a home that was built, you know, in the 70s or even the early 80s, they probably don't have GFCI outlets in their bathrooms and their kitchens. And every GFCI notification says, oh, you're missing it, in big red letters, can cause electrocution or death. Oh, that's reassuring. So every single outlet, and you may have 4, will have half a page saying danger of death and all this stuff that can be happening if you don't have a GFCI. Well, okay, so if you have 4, that's 2 pages right there, just on
That's
outlet.
all repetitive
Yeah,
information.
a lot of repetitive information, a lot of, I don't want to call it CYA because it's actually useful information, but, you know, some people can look at it that way because, you know, the inspector's saying, well, you know, I tried this, and I mean, everything is photographed now. Whereas beforehand, you got like a 2-page written report, they made a few notes about things that needed to be fixed, and that was that. Now, every single thing is photographed. They'll turn on a faucet and take a picture of the running water. See, it worked when I was here. You know, they're taking a picture, you know, they turn on all the eyes on the gas stove. Picture, see, they all work. You know, it's, you know, everything is documented. And those pictures take up a lot of space. Now they're getting drones, and they're getting up on, you know, instead of them getting up on the roofs themselves, they're getting the drones up there. So they're getting drone photos of different, you know, places where the, you know, flashings may be, you know, less than steady or stuff like that. So, first thing is kind of to warn the buyer that, you know, you're going to get this report, it's going to be huge, don't freak. Usually, most companies will give you a summary page on the first 2 or 3 pages. It's called key findings. Because you have health and safety issues, and then you have cosmetic issues. You know, a banister thing is loose, a tile is cracked, you know, whatever. Yeah, but it's, you know, these aren't things that are safety issues. You know, safety issues are, you know, things like, you've got polybutylene pipes. Your pipes are probably going to fall apart in the next 5 years. Does everybody know what polybutylene is?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a kind of piping that was really popular back in the 80s. A lot of new construction used it. It's gray. And when it was, you know, first introduced, it was like the next best thing, greatest thing that ever lived. Well, P.S., it doesn't weather well. So when after it's been in use for a while, the plastic becomes brittle and cracks, and you can imagine how much fun that was. The polybutylene people have since gone out of business, and all the money that was, you know, put out in the lawsuit has been used up and everything, just like some of the siding that started kind of curling up back in the 70s. So there's really no recourse except for the seller and buyer to make some sort of mutual agreement that either the piping is going to be replaced, or, you know, the house is downgraded in price because of that. Now, what I think is funniest is when you're sitting here going through the inspection, and yeah, even when you're just going through the house yourself when they're first looking to buy it, you know, take a peek. You know, you see gray, okay, might be polybutylene. You know, look at the seller's disclosure. Is it disclosed? Probably not. They don't come out and tell you there's polybutylene. But if you see a little gray pipe going from the sink into the wall, yeah, that's a clue. Some get really smart and paint it.
Is it blue on the outside? For some reason, I thought it was called blue poly. Because I had
it's
exterior
gray
problem.
with a blue stripe on it sometimes.
Oh.
I think there are a couple of different.
Cause I had an exterior problem with it. Came home one day and my whole front yard was like all flooded. So we had it from the house to the street. Fortunately, it wasn't in the house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are just kind of the kind of things that you kind of pick up as you go, and you're like, you know, your buyer might say, "What are you looking at?" And I'm saying, "Storm pipes." Just, is there like a puddle underneath? Is there evidence that there was a puddle at some point?
Is that something, if you're going to list a house, that you should sort of go through the house and kind of look at when you first list it?
Yeah, I mean, as a listing agent, I don't like surprises. You know, I want to know what it is I'm selling. And I
And
want
is
to be prepared.
there just a simple punch list that kind of is like, just kind of jogs your memory of things that you might?
Well, when they're going through their seller's disclosure, you know, they talk about plumbing,
Oh, that'll
and that's
be
just
in
kind of has there been any floods? Yes, oh, why? Well, pipes, what kind of pipes do you have? Just kind of, it may have been replaced at that point, you just don't know. So, I don't like surprises. Now, some agents may say, what I don't know, I can't tell, and they don't want to know, which seems foolish to me, because I'd rather know. But that's just me. But anyway, usually, let me back up a little bit, because usually your first deadline is your earnest money. And so either you've got the earnest money in hand when you're making the offer, which is becoming increasingly rare these days, because most people kind of give it 2 or 3 days just to give you, just in case negotiations don't go well. Usually 3 days, maximum 5. I mean, the seller wants to know that, there's earnest money being, that's on the line here. Anytime during due diligence that the buyer decides that they don't like the house, they found a better house, they don't like the color of the house, they don't like the wallpaper, it's too much, it's whatever. Whatever reason they can think of, it doesn't matter. They can walk during due diligence for any reason. And that's called a unilateral termination, because it is a one-way disclosure from the buyer to the seller that we're done. And at that point, they do get their earnest money back. Now, be aware that some sellers get annoyed with this when they get terminated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and some of them may say, well, you know something, I'm going to make you wait for your money. I'm not going to sign this termination until the very end. I mean, you may know it 3 days into your 10-day due diligence, but they may sit on it. And usually a little call to the broker will kind of nudge that along, because they're actually hurting themselves, because they can't put themselves
They can't put it back on the market.
They can't put it back on the market as long as it's still out.
Do you find anybody that people use that as a technique to make multiple offers, knowing they're going to find something wrong in due diligence, so they can walk? I mean, have you ever found that people use that to make multiple offers to hold
Yes.
options,
I did it last weekend.
and then they just look for excuses,
I
and
did
there's no recourse?
I did it last weekend.
Yeah, it feels to me, and this is just an opinion, but it feels to me like there needs to be a little bit more strictness around that, because that ultimately helps the seller,
Yeah.
because it's a black mark on the listing. If
Yeah.
somebody just walks because they're like, oh, I got something better.
It's because Georgia is such a consumer-friendly state. I mean, that's where it comes from. It's if you're representing the buyer, it's great, because the buyer has
Right.
a lot of power there.
Yeah.
It is people kind of eyebrows go up a little bit, and but some agents don't even they're not supposed to, but they don't even put it like under contract until due diligence, until they've had inspection. I mean, that's not the way it's supposed to be. They're supposed to change the status within 48 hours. But some of them know, that's going to happen. Like, for example, I have a lady who was looking in the 250,000 price range. Now, those go pretty quick, especially if they're in fairly nice little communities. And she had lost out on 4 multiple offer situations. Bidding up, just for one reason or the other. And so she was getting desperate, because her mother was moving into town, had sold her house, moving in with her, and he had a house on 1 story or a bedroom on the main level, but so we went out, we looked at 6 houses, 2 of them worked great, so we put offers on both of them the same day. Because there's no guarantee we were going to get either one.
Right.
And as it turns out, we ended up with both.
Yeah, offers is one thing, but going under contract, they can go under contract on 2 houses, yeah. That's the part that's,
Yeah. But you can do multiple offers, out.
that's fair.
You just have to keep track of your deadlines. Just make sure
Well, they
you're-
risk losing their earnest money, but they'll find an excuse, right?
They don't need an excuse. They can just say, we're done. They don't need an excuse. And that's the thing that,
Wow.
buyers kind of trip over themselves because they feel like they need to give an explanation. It's just like, sorry, my buyer's, terminating. Ideally, they can come back and say, well, why? What's wrong? Well, we've gone through the inspection and it's just more than they want to deal with. The seller's like saying, well, I'm not, I've been living in the house 20 years, nothing's wrong with it. And, they're not going to make any repairs. They said, well, you knew it was an old furnace when you bought it. Well, no, you told me one of them was new. You didn't tell me the other one was 30 years old. It's just this kind of, back and forth. Sometimes you get into, sometimes, like I had one time that went into, we went past due diligence and we were, doing the appraisal and everything. And we were getting a survey for the property because the buyers wanted to put in a pool in the backyard. And we got the survey back and we're like looking at it going, what is that? Right across the middle of the backyard. Nice little sewer easement right across the backyard. You can't build a sewer easement. You can't put a pool in a sewer easement. And oh, what's that at the back of the yard? Huh? It's a flood zone. You can't build a pool within X feet of flood zone either. So here's this backyard that's basically unusable for what the buyer is wanting to do. And you go back and you look at the seller's disclosure and it says, no, we're not in a flood zone. There's no questions about the easements, but we were like, and that's how we actually got out of the contract after due diligence. We said, well, you said you weren't in the flood zone, and you are, and we cannot build, we cannot build as we planned because you did not disclose that we were in a flood zone.
How much do you really expect a seller to truly know? Whenever I've had to do a disclosure, oftentimes I base it off what I was told.
True.
I mean, it's like, okay, they said I was in
That's
a
why
flood
sometimes you
zone.
don't give a disclosure, especially if you're doing flips. If you're buying a flip. I'm kind of in two camps about that. One, if I'm doing the flip, I should know the house better than anybody at that point because I've torn it apart and put it back together again.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I don't know if there was a roof leak 10 years ago. I don't know if there was a plumbing, problem, 5 years ago. I don't know if there was a structural issue that was corrected. I don't know.
And they don't have to fill out
No, they
the
don't.
disclosure, right?
And even if they do fill out the disclosure, all across the top in big letters that nobody ever reads, this is, best of our knowledge, is not guaranteed. Don't hold us accountable for it. And yet, when someone says one thing and it's absolutely another, it's kind of, and they knew because, they had had a discussion with their insurance company. But as far as they're concerned, the house itself wasn't in that wasn't what the question was. The question is any part of property in flood zone?
So my question is, what good is earnest money if the buyer can get out for really any
But it's
reason?
only really during due diligence.
Okay,
I mean,
so that's just the first 10 days, right? Or the
first 5, 7, 10 days,
Okay.
usually. Sometimes as much as 14. I mean, if it's a big house and it's going to need, multiple inspections and stuff, I go for 2 weeks. Sometimes good. Your next major hurdle is going to be your financing, the appraisal, and the underwriting. Now, hopefully, there won't be any surprises in underwriting on your buyer because they've already been pre-approved, right? So they've already had their credit checked, they've already had their income checked, they've already had their assets and liabilities checked. So, that should be a fairly easy walk in the park. The one that trips people up the most is the appraisal. Now, appraisers are funny. You can't. Appraisers have to be handled with care. They don't like to be told what the value of the property is. If it's my listing, I will try my darndest to be there when the appraiser comes because I want a chance to show the appraiser why the value is as it is. If I had multiple offers and if I had a $150,000 condo and I had 6 offers at 160, what does that tell me about what the marketplace is doing right there? It tells me that there's a big demand. You know, that may not be obvious from, 6 months to a year ago. A big example of this is the area around SunTrust Park. Everybody wants to be like near the Battery now. It's a very hot area. Year and a half ago, not so much, So it's, if they're using comps from a year ago, they may not really reflect the activity in the market at that point. So it's not insulting their intelligence to say, hey, look, I got 6 offers for $160,000. And you probably know that neighborhood a little bit better than the appraiser does, because you can say, this one had all new hardwood floors. This one didn't have any upgrades at all. I will make copies of the printouts, and I'll just make little notes on them, because they're busy. They're going, they're not spending all day there. They're only there for like half hour, 45 minutes max. So, anything that you can do to help them arrive at the correct value, arrive at the value that everybody has agreed on is helpful. Now, but you can't tell them that. You can't say, here, I've done all your work for you, just take this. You have to be tactful. I usually walk in, I'll have a folder. I said, I've got some of the comps here that I worked on when I came up with the value. Would you like to see them? 9 times out of 10, they'll say, oh, thank you very much. They'll take it, and who knows, they throw it in the back of the truck. I don't know what they do with it, but at least I've made the effort. If there's something that I'm really worried about, I'll point out that, well, the reason this one was higher is because they've redone the kitchen, and none of the other comps had redone kitchens, or they have a finished basement, none of the other comps have finished basements, that sort of thing. Just to kind of give them a heads up that there's going to be something different about this house. So, and sometimes I don't get to meet them, and that's not optimal, but it's kind of best I could. Now, as a buyer's agent, you're not going to want to meet. You're not going to be meeting the appraiser there, because A, it's not your house, and B, well, it's like I had an appraisal last week. I've got a house under contract, and the brand new listing agent. Please don't, guys, don't ever do this. Okay, brand new listing agent. She says, I sent the appraiser over to you for access, and I said, honey, I can't give him access. I don't have your lockbox, and I don't have your seller's contact information. And she goes, oh, but he's your buyer's appraiser. And I went, yes, but she goes, well, he called me for a French docket, and I referred him back to you. And I said, okay, let's think this through. And she's like, oh, okay. I said, normally we would meet them, normally as a listing agent, I would try to meet an agent. I would try to meet the appraiser. I was kind of, she was, so I was kind of comfortable with that. And she's like, oh. She says, well, I kind of thought you'd do that. And I said, you want him to come out with my comps? I said, you're going to want that value? Mm-hmm. And she's like, I said, I'm happy to. I'm happy to. I'm not sure you like the results. And she's like, no, I'll meet him, no problem. It was just like, hadn't really thought through the consequences of, she just didn't want to go out, she didn't want to let him in, she didn't want to be bothered, and it was just like, she hadn't really thought through the consequences of her actions there. So appraisals, I think, right when you have a contract, a lot of different things happen at once. Who are people that have to be notified of the contract?
Buyer himself.
Right, well, okay, they're in the middle of it. They should know. Who else?
Broker.
Broker, okay.
The lender.
Lender, good. Who else?
Both agents. You should notify.
That's a given if the
Well,
buyer's
it's the
on.
appraiser. Well, no, the lender calls the appraiser.
Lender would know. Never mind.
Oh, the closing attorney.
Yeah.
because what you're doing is you're sending, you know,
Okay.
once you got your binding contract, you're sending a copy of it to the closing attorney, you're sending a copy of it to the lender, and of course, the buyer and seller each have a copy of the entire binding.
So you picked the closing attorney before the contract binding agreement even happened?
It's part of the agreement. When you go look in the purchase and sale,
Mm-hmm.
one of the, on the first page, there's actually a spot where you specify the closing attorney, right here.
Uh-huh.
So everybody knows. Everybody knows who the lender is
But
because
so if it's there, you can't change it, right? Because some people change it. Don't
you
sometimes
can't change it with an
can?
amendment as long
With
as everybody's
amendment,
agreeable.
right? Okay.
But I thought the lender picked the closing attorney.
Yeah, like,
The buyer normally chooses the closing attorney. Sometimes, like if you've had a flip or if you've had a relocation where the relocating person is selling their house, a lot of the title work has already been done by a company that's been hired by the relocation company or foreclosure or something like that. So all the title work's already been done. So there's no sense in paying another attorney to do all the same title work. You're going to get the same, title insurance policy, basically. So in those cases, they may specify that they want to have a specific attorney. Now, a lot of times in listings, you'll see preferred closing attorney is, blah, blah, blah. And that's only because the selling agent is comfortable with them. They know that they're good. They know they're qualified. They can handle things professionally. They don't want Uncle Joe's nephew from Cartersville who's had his law license for 6 months, closing this loan because he doesn't know anything. And that's a lot of well, my uncle's going to handle it because he's an attorney. Is he a real estate attorney? No. Well, no, he's not doing it. Sorry. I mean, just like there's lots of specialties with doctors, you wouldn't necessarily want a podiatrist doing, heart transplant. You don't necessarily, want a criminal attorney doing a real estate transaction. You don't want somebody who specializes in drunk driving stuff handling, a probate issue. I mean, it's just, they might be able to. If they're a divorce lawyer, they're probably a little bit more in tune with some of the nuances than others, but only somebody who's regularly, hauling down to the courthouse, checking, the title records, knowing the ins and outs of title transfers, being able to track ownership. True story. We had a beautiful house out, probably up toward Canton, I guess. $580,000, gorgeous yard. I mean, the yard was just a killer yard. The grass was just cut velvet. They had this beautiful area over in the corner that had a fire pit, with the built-in stone benches, the cushions on them and everything. Had a little dog run, in the back, a cute little dog house, just a little garden area. I mean, it was just beautiful. And we got the survey back. We were about halfway. It was past due diligence, but we said, "Oh, big yard. Let's get a survey just to make sure." So we got the survey, and we're sitting here looking at this survey, going, "Am I reading this right?" And like 3 of us looked at it, and we're like, "That's the property line." I'm like, yeah. And all the good stuff's on the other side of the property line. It's like, what the heck? And what had happened?
Wow.
What had happened is that this guy was in a cul-de-sac, and he had this big old honking house that went out, and there was a house behind him in another neighborhood, and they had a property. So when this guy, who was an attorney, bought this house, he he didn't get a survey because it was in a tract, it was in a neighborhood, so it was like, you know, what could possibly go wrong, right? Well, what had happened is that when he was walking the property, when he bought it, the seller said, oh, see this down here? There's the end of your property. That makes sense, yeah. Okay, that makes kind of makes sense, because that's the end of the property. So this is where he built his fire pit, this is where he had his dog run, here's his garden and everything. All that fun stuff. And it's all on the other side of his property line, because what had happened is that this spot right here was kind of like no man's land. Nobody knew who owned it. But according to the survey, from when the house was built and the plat, he only went out like 240 feet, and this ended up being 280 feet. So there's this 40-foot no man's land that stretched across like 12 houses.
Could that be claimed, I forget that term.
Adverse possession.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what they were going at, but nobody's been paying taxes on it. Even this town of Woodstock didn't know it was there. No, Mountain Park. Even the town of Mountain Park did not know it was there. They didn't even know it was there to build anybody for it. So this person wasn't paying taxes on it. This person wasn't paying taxes. It's just this little piece of land. Probably the attorney went back to 1885 on property records to try to find out who owned this land. Because if it was the builder, this is two different neighborhoods. This is one builder, this is another builder. So two different neighborhoods. So somewhere in between that little piece of land, that plot just kind of got overlooked. And so, of course, one of the reasons they bought this house, they had all this cool stuff in the backyard, it was gorgeous and everything. So now you're telling me, okay, none of that applies. Price of the house went down $30,000 immediately. Because one, we don't know if they're ever going to have heirs to come in and say, oh, by the way, my great-great-granddaddy owned that and nobody paid us, so you owe us. We made a diligent effort to find them. But of course, to really do a full search, they're going to have to do like property records, they're going to have to advertise, they're going to have to do all this stuff in order to find the heirs. And so what they did is they agreed to drop the price of the house. And that way, if anything ever comes down the pike that says, hey, you owe me, that's not your land, you owe me, then you'll be in position to pay for it. In aggregate value. But meanwhile, so yeah, that was fun. And that was after due diligence. So we were all kind of like, but then it kind of came under the auspices of title work because he was selling property they owned, so he didn't have title to it, so it kind of came under those clauses. So in that case, he could have won, but kind of extenuating circumstances.
So when should the survey be done?
Surveys are expensive. Surveys, start between 4 and 5, and they can go up depending on how big the property is. Most of them run between like $450 and $650. So a lot of people don't want to do a survey until after due diligence, until they're pretty sure they're good to go. So what happened is that, there's actually a special step that you can use in your contract for a survey, saying that you're ordering a survey and that it's going to be ordered and you'll let them know like X number of days before closing whether or not the survey was okay. Makes sellers nervous, but the seller has a survey and it's a relatively unmolested area, and you might just go with that. Or they maybe feel confident enough to say, yeah, sure, go spend money. We don't care. Now, if there's like any question about a shared driveway or an easement, or like my previous clients who ended up with a sewer easement they couldn't build on, You know, those may be, you know, other extenuating circumstances, but for the most part, if you put that special step in there, you don't have to have it during due diligence and then maybe not need it. Because I can't think of anything worse than paying for a survey that you don't need.
Yeah.
So we've got our deadlines. Done your inspection. Once you've done your inspection, you've got you still got a time period in which you have to have, everybody has to agree on these inspections. So if you have a 10-day due diligence, you know, your best bet is to get your inspection over really quickly, because you want to have time to negotiate any repairs that might be needed, or if something comes up, you want to know if that's something that you need to have somebody else come out and look at. HVACs, for example, are very popular to have somebody else come out. Fireplaces, gas fireplaces, well, it didn't work when the inspector tried. To be honest, half the time the inspectors don't know how to turn them on because they've got something funky about turning them on. They've been turned off for the summer. I mean, whatever. You know, they tried it. It didn't work. You know, they're not going to sit there and spend 15 minutes trying to turn it on. So all they did is try to turn it on. Didn't work. What your buyer sees is, I'm buying a gas fireplace and it doesn't work. So, you know, inspection. And then, you know, usually a fireplace guy goes out there and goes, yeah, done. It's fine. Or else they find out that it needs a new ignition switch or something like that. So one of the things is that you have to have everybody agreed by the end of due diligence, which is usually 11:59, the last day of due diligence. So if I had gone under contract last Monday and I had 7 days due diligence, when would be my last day of due diligence?
Today, well,
Right.
Sunday night at
No,
11:50.
today,
Oh,
7 days.
Oh,
Day
today.
one is the next day.
oh, okay, yeah.
That's why sometimes when you're getting sometimes it really, you know, it's just kind of frosty when they send me a binding agreement at, you know, 10 o'clock at night, because I feel like I've lost an entire day. Just, there's my extra day gone. I wish they just waited till the next day to sign it, because that would have given me all day to get the inspector and everything, and now I'm losing a day. You know, just, in my mind, it's just really, I mean, you may be only losing a few hours, but it doesn't.
Like, say that again, say what you just said again.
Like, for example, if someone gives me a binding agreement at 10 a.m.
On the last day?
on the first day,
On the first
you know,
day.
if somebody gives me a binding agreement and my due diligence started and it's 10 a.m., I've kind of got that free day in there, because the next day is day one. So I can run around and get my inspectors lined up, I can do all that, and it's kind of
I thought we could set times on everything.
you can.
Okay. So we could say,
8
due
p.m.
by 8 a.m.
Well, not on binding agreements.
Oh,
It just really depends on what everybody signs. I mean, you can say,
okay.
you know, that it expires at such and such, but I may have said it expires at, you know, 5 p.m.
Oh, yeah.
If I get it at 5 p.m., if I get it at 4:50, then, you know, me running around calling. Now, to be honest, I've already called.
Yeah.
Because I've already got them lined up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want them there ASAP. So when we started this whole process, I had them lined up, ready to go. So, and I can cancel it, you know, give them 24 hours, they're good. But that's just kind of one of my techniques to make sure I milk as much time out of that due diligence, especially if it's a short due diligence period. I mean, 7 days is kind of short. But in this case, it was necessary because the buyer wanted to close pretty quickly.
That's not business days, that's regular
calendar
days, right?
Now, there are special steps you can use that say that if a deadline falls on a weekend or federal holiday, that the deadline is extended to the end of the next business day. Or you can say 8 o'clock the next business day, or 11:59 the next business day, or whatever. You can.
But would you really want to say business day? Because that's kind of confusing when you just say regular day, the next day.
No, Memorial Day. What is it?
Well, I think
Monday.
on Monday, right?
Right. That's a day.
So
Is
that
it a
would
business
give
day?
you-
No, it's a federal holiday.
So that
So
we
if it
get-
falls on like Saturday, and you say next business, like what if it was a holiday on Saturday or something? Like say,
Like Christmas.
Christmas is on
Well, yeah,
Saturday.
we're kind of covering that with the weekend or, you know,
Mhm.
or federal holiday. Because most federal holidays are on Monday. So we're just kind of making sure that we don't, you know, kick into that.
so like I know when you have an inspection, like you go do the inspection with your buyer, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so,
Not,
Is-
maybe not the whole inspection.
mhm.
I would recommend for newer agents for them to go to the first 2 or 3, just so they can get a feel for what what different inspectors do. And then you can kind of, you kind of know your favorites after a while. I mean, if you have one who's very good at describing issues to a buyer without alarming them, all better. There is one appraiser in town that a lot of agents, when they say that they're doing it, they just automatically just do a termination. They said, no, not gonna do it. Because this inspector will, he bills himself as the inspector that agents hate, because he is on the side of the buyer. The agent's just out to get you. It's lousy marketing technique, but buyers respond to it. So what happens is that they feel like, oh, well, here's somebody's, you know, looking out for me. I mean, you know, agents just, you know, money grubbing, you know, that this is the implication. But this guy will take them on 3 different, you know, he'll turn down the first 2 houses just, you know, oh, this house is going to fall apart. Oh, this, you know, whatever. He's, you know, he'll walk in and go, oh, wow, mildew. Oh. He's like, everybody's going, it's no mildew. You know, it's like, but yeah, he's declared that there is mildew. And, you know, buyers panic and they, you know, cancel. Okay, there's $600 for that inspection, and $600 for that inspection. And wonderfully, the 3rd inspection is the charm. Perfect house. Wow. And it's like, yeah, it like cost him $2,000 to get
Well, he makes more money too.
But we're being recorded, so I can't tell you his
Oh.
name. If you want to ask me later, I'll be happy to tell you that. But, you know, I mean, there's some agents that, you know, if you're going to use that inspector, no, they're not even going to take your, they're not even going to work with you. They're just going to say, yep, I've been stung by this guy enough. Tends to work Buckhead, but, you know, doesn't really work the suburbs too much, so. He's been in the Atlanta business. He's been in the Atlanta magazine like twice as, you know, best inspector. Like, so anyway, these are all kind of things you have to. So yeah, you do go to an inspection. Usually, I try to go toward the end now. I mean, I've kind of seen enough so that I kind of know what they're doing anyway. I don't need to sit in the living room, you know, on my cell phone while they're up on the roof and up in the attic and down in the basement and all that stuff. I usually try to come in the last half hour, 45 minutes, because at that point they're starting to wrap up and they're starting to explain issues to the buyer. If the buyer is there, he can explain to me if the buyer can't be there. So I'm kind of going through it, and, you know, well, and the ones that can say, well, this is kind of critical. I wouldn't buy the house. You know, I mean, they don't tell you don't buy the house. Buy the house. They're just telling you the condition of the house. That's all they can do. They're not making recommendations. You know, I'd have somebody else look at this. That's kind of code for, yeah, get this looked at real quick. Others, you know, will just kind of go through and give you the high points, like, you know, I'm going to be writing up the HVAC. It looks like coils are leaking, or yeah, there's a pressure valve here on the water heater. It looks like it's kind of rusted out. I couldn't get it to move, so I don't know if it's, you know, needs to be replaced. You know, bell valve looks like it's, you know, leaking. I mean, things like that. You know, they will kind of let you know, because these are kind of items that you might want to address with the seller when you're negotiating with the seller. You can do it several different ways. You can say, Mr. Seller, you know, your house sucks. Look at this inspection report. I got an inspection report that is And this is just the key findings on this one. This is like, the key findings on this one was 27 pages. Of reports, and see they've got, photos. On every page, see some pages are, but they've documented lots and lots and lots of fun stuff. So, go back and, what I like to do is I like to send the ones that the buyer is particularly concerned about, which we try to limit it to safety and health issues. Sometimes we're not successful. I mean, I'm not gonna put in an inspection report that the seller has to fill in every single hole when they take a picture down and repaint. No, because they're gonna come and repaint anyway. I want to make them do that. I might ask them to recaulk something, but honestly, I've got a caulk gun in my car. I mean, it's in my go bag. I mean, I can caulk anything. You want it caulked? Not a problem. White silicone caulk. Done. And that's something that you want to keep in your car. I mean, you want to keep. I call it my go bag. It's got my caulk gun. It's got a laser measuring pointer, or just at least have a ruler or
Tape measure or something.
Thank you, tape measure. The tape measure, something they can measure the size of where the refrigerator goes. That seems to be the biggest thing. Is, how big is the refrigerator? They're all the same size.
They're actually not.
All the same size.
They're not the same size.
Huh?
They are not the same size. I can tell you from a
Well, if you're buying a builder standard house, I mean,
yeah, they're new. There's some refrigerators that are 36 inches exactly, and there's others that are 35 3/4, and that will be the difference between a refrigerator sliding in and not. But anyway.
but you're right.
I'm just telling you.
But that seems to be the one thing they measure
Yeah.
the most.
Yeah.
And then they might, if they're going to replace the flooring, they'll come back later on and have that measure or something like that. But
Yeah.
they may be measuring a bedroom to see if a bed will fit in it. Trying to figure out where it is. But I have a little laser measure that works real well. A lot of that stuff. I've got some stuff for my signs. I've got extra like little hangers for the signs, because windstorm can break it and you have to go in and fix it again. Otherwise, you look like you're selling a derelict house because your sun's coming out. Keep some pens in there. A flashlight. The one on your phone works pretty well, but it really sucks up your battery life. And if you're showing, sometimes sometimes the super is sucking it up too, and then you're using it for your GPS, and so everything else. I mean, sometimes just having a little flashlight, especially if it's a really nice bright one, then you can take a peek in the storage area of the basement where you can't find the light switch because it's too dark. So just kind of stuff like that I just keep in the car. I mean, you kind of tell a realtor about the stuff falling out of her go bag. So during the inspection, they're kind of going through all this. So after you've done through all this and you kind of determine what kind of things do you want to address with the seller, then you've got an amendment. It's called Amendment to Address Concerns. Pretty straightforward. We're concerned about this house. These are the things we want to address. So Amendment to Address Concerns. Keep in mind that the lender will probably see this unless you carefully manage your documents. Some lenders will make that amendment part of the closing because they want to make they're asking for receipts. Whereas you might have a little bit more flexibility if it's just between you and the listing agent and the closing attorney. So you had an earlier question. What about if you need to change the date?
No, change the closing attorney.
Right, closing attorney, change closing date, whatever. That's going to be an amendment, just a straight amendment to the agreement. And that way, all parties agree that new closing attorney will be Gannett LLC, or all parties agree that the due diligence date has been extended to 10 days rather than 7 or whatever, whatever the change is. However, if your first amendment is your amendment to address concerns, and it has 3 pages worth of repairs, and your second one is the change in the closing date, for example, because everybody discovered that they're going to be on vacation that day or something. One is Amendment 1, second one is Amendment 2. You can't give them Amendment 2 without giving them Amendment 1. You're sitting there nodding your head. Been there, done that.
Where's amendment number 1, Rachel? Oh.
You don't want to see that.
I put the wrong thing on there.
You don't want to see that.
I learned the
Only
hard
because,
way.
and lenders, a lot of lenders don't want to see it either.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to deal with having to, get all those receipts and compare them and, have somebody go out and have a reinspection to make sure they're all done and everything. It's just easier if it's just kind of kept between friends, but they have but anyway, when you're giving them an amendment to address concerns, normally I try to give them backup for the stuff that I'm giving them. I give them, sometimes I'll send them a copy of the inspection report ahead of time. Just say, here's the inspection report we got. We're working on our amendment. Now I just want to give you a chance to review it. Listing agents hate that. They really hate it because they don't want to know. If they don't know it, they don't have to disclose it. But if you hand them a 60-page report that's telling them that you've got 2 roof leaks and you've got a crack in the foundation that looks a little suspicious and all that stuff, then all of a sudden the onus is back on the listing agent to disclose it. Because now they have knowledge. And some agents will file and say, I'm not reading this. And you're like, why not? It's like, because I don't want to know, or else they don't want proof, whatever. So just FYI, you might run into that, and that's why you're saying, no, I don't want it, but I always send it to them, just so that, personally, if it were me, I want to know, because if I'm representing the seller may not know some of this stuff. They've been living in the house for 30 years, The only thing they've updated is the shower curtain. It works just fine for them. I mean, what's the problem? Okay. So, create the amendment to address concerns. What I'll do is when they kind of go through and say, okay, I want these items taken care of. I've got a guy, he's actually one of our preferred vendors, At Home Handyman. His name's Brian Lowenthal. You can send him the inspection report, and you can send him the items that you want to have priced out as an approximate cost for repair. And usually the next day he'll send it to you. He'll have it listed 3.1, $200, 3.2, $400, 5.1, don't do this, we don't do landscape. It's like, you can kind of get but you can kind of get a general idea of how much you're talking about. And it's kind of helpful too when you come back to the seller, because the seller doesn't quite feel like you're gouging them. You're just trying to knock the price down. Dear Mr. Seller, I have $3,200 worth of repairs. Would you like to do these repairs yourself? Or would you like to just simply give me $3,200 towards closing costs, and then that way I can make the repairs myself?
Most buyers would rather get the credit right and do the repairs themselves, or not.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I found all my buyers, the younger people, I feel like want it taken care of more than they want the credit, at least in my experience.
Sometimes
They want to do
And
it.
sometimes they're moving and they're starting a new job, and everybody's just kind of like jumping into their new life really fast, and they just don't have time. They don't want to deal with an
It
HVAC.
scares me what
Yeah, 'cause you don't know
the
what you're
listing
getting.
person's gonna do.
Yeah.
I mean, you can specify,
I mean, the sellers-
that the HVAC will be, repaired by, Moncrief
Something
Air.
like that,
You can,
yeah.
you do
Oh,
have
okay.
some control. I mean,
Yeah.
or the seller may come back and go, I've got a guy who's been working on this roof for 20 years. you know, of course, you might say, well, it's been about 20 years, they've done a very good job.
Exactly, why is it impacted?
But, you know, if he can get somebody out there to make those repairs that you're asking, you know, at a relatively, you know, small cost, or it may still be under warranty, we don't know. Refrigerator's not working, you know, is it new refrigerators have been turned on? I mean, is it, you know, did the compressor die and it's under warranty? I mean, give the seller a chance to, you know, make it good, you know, within reason. So, you know, the seller's got a couple different options. He can, you know, contribute towards closing costs. He can reduce the price of the house. That doesn't really do much as far as, I just had one this weekend that blew up because the buyer wanted $15,000 worth of repairs. Now, granted, I knocked him down from 28. Because he wanted the seller to buy him 3 new HVAC units. I said, that ain't happening.
It's called a home warranty, right?
I said, we'll get you home warranty, you're good.
As an agent, if they reduce the price of the house, that's gonna affect your commission. If it's part of closing, does that affect your commission?
I don't care.
No?
I mean, what's 3% on 15,000? I don't care. But $450, I mean, it's not. I mean, I've got my eye on the prize closing. You know, I'm not going to nickel and dime him to death, you know, to get him there. Don't, just FYI, don't count your commission before it hatches.
Yeah.
I mean, just don't. I mean, don't even. I mean, I've worked with Cynthia Pierce for about 4 or 5 years, and her favorite thing was that it's not a commission until it's in my hand.
But I will say, I've heard people say, oh, they pay, like I've heard the agent gave a gift of a home warranty. Like to me, I'd have to think about that because that's not a cheap gift and it's truly coming out of the agent's commission, right?
True.
Okay. So, and I've heard them paying for other things just to keep the process moving. So I think we just have to be cognizant on that end when you're down to the bottom line. We need to do some math.
I had a $600,000 house.
Right.
What's my commission on that?
Yours
Assuming
is
3%.
1.5 times 600,000.
No, 3.
You're well, but you well, okay, if you capped it, right? So $18,000.
Assuming. So 3% of that.
Yeah, $18,000 taking $1,000 is not that bad. But
I had
$200,000
them
has to give
down
everything
to
twice.
$1,000. They were arguing over $1,000. They were ready to murder
You couldn't
them
get them
all.
to split it?
No, but, you know, and the listing agent was like the third listing agent because this house was like 3 years ago. And, you know, $1,000. Nope, I'm not paying it. Nope, I'm not paying it.
All that time into it.
And I said, you know, some guys, I'm paying $1,000 for your closing costs. Fine. And they're, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh my gosh.
was I happy with 17? Hell yeah. 'Cause otherwise I'm not going to get anything.
Right.
I mean, you're right. You know, a home warranty is a very nice gift. Would you want to do it for a $100,000 house? Probably not. $100,000 house, yeah. Drink a bottle of wine fairly well. Maybe a new welcome mat. One of my favorite closing gifts, by the way, is a new tag for their dog or cat with a new address on it.
Oh, that's
That's a
cute.
cute idea.
They love it.
That's really
And
cute.
it's like $5 at Walmart.
Yeah.
It's just,
That's cute.
but yeah, I put it on a ribbon, you know, tie it around the wine bottle, and they go nuts.
That's so cute.
But so anyway, when you're sitting here negotiating, that's when the negotiation starts, and that's when this is kind of when your negotiation skills are really going to be coming out, because the listing agent's going to come back and we're not doing any of this. Well, will you do a combination of this and this? You know, would you, you're just going back and forth. Well, I'll do the roof, but I'm not doing the HVAC. Well, then you go back to your buyer. Well, Mr. Buyer, they're not going to do work on the HVAC, but they are paying for a home warranty, so you're covered. You okay with that? You're just kind of being the sensible one in the entire transaction. Sometimes it's really hard not to get because everybody else is getting kind of upset. And you're trying to sympathize and you're trying to emphasize, but at the same time, you're the one that's got to be the grown up in the situation.
Since
Because
Since we've talked a lot about home inspection and those kind of things, from your perspective, some of the home warranty companies offer a seller's warranty. How has your experience been with that? Like, should we recommend that 100% of the time?
for listing,
Yeah.
for a listing agent, I would do it automatically. As a listing agent, I will do it automatically unless they already have a home warranty.
You're saying you'll do it automatically. What does that mean? You'll do it
As
automatically?
part of my listing process, I will, send them up with a home warranty company and say, hey,
Is there a-
Mr. Seller, I have signed you up with a home warranty, so if something happens, while you're listed with me, it's just gonna be the service call.
Is there a cost for that? I can't.
Nope.
So all of our fur don't charge for that?
I know of 3 of them, I cannot
Okay.
speak for all of them.
Because they'll do that for free for like a certain amount of days, right? And if it gets to closing and they want that home warranty, that's when it gets
They
paid
would like the
for.
home warranty, and, sometimes they don't get the home warranty.
Right.
Because if you're the listing agent, you can't, you can't say you have to get, sometimes the buyer agent gets sloppy and doesn't specify that they're the ones that are ordering it. And then you
Right.
say seller to provide a home warranty.
Yes.
And then you say, great,
Yeah.
I've got $510 to work with. Who's gonna give me a good deal?
Yeah.
Ding.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, it would be nice to reward the one that's been covering you for probably nothing's happened.
Well, that's why they do it, in the
Yeah,
hopes of
probably
getting
nothing.
that
But like,
business, right?
like at one point, we had a house that was from like the 1930s. The bathroom started leaking, and it was, the whole ceiling was plaster, so they had to, it's like, wait. But they were covered. Anyway, that's probably the only time I've ever heard it being used.
So that's good just through closing,
Right.
and then the homeowner
And then
buys.
if the
new
home, and
homeowner
then,
buys
once it closes, unless they actually bought a policy from them, or else they bought another policy, then they're out of luck. So, but yes, a home warranty is a very nice gift. And sometimes I've done that after an inspection. If we've gotten to the point where, everybody's kind of butting heads over that, I might just say, well, Mr. Seller, how about providing a home warranty? That would take care of the HVAC unit and everything. Nope. And I can save the day and just say, I will get you a home warranty. That will, or else, you can negotiate it. I'll pay for half of a home warranty for you, or whatever. And then that way, everybody feels like it's a win-win. Big thing, win-win. Everybody feels like they kind of got something. Seller. Sometimes they just do the deals.
Put everything in perspective. So, if we don't do this, then what's going to happen? You might walk. Is that what you want?
Exactly.
I'll deal with it. Okay, fine, I'll pay for it. But if they're like, well, I don't really want that, I'll pay for it.
I mean, $600,000 house. You're getting a lot of money.
No, I don't want to throw my money away that fast. I'd at least
Yeah,
try to
but it's
reason with
either
them.
don't give it a throw. I think it's investing.
I'll try to reason with them first. Gently.
That's right.
I won't push too hard.
Your negotiation skills are probably better than mine. But while all this is going on with the inspector and everything, the inspection and everything, the title company probably isn't doing a whole lot. They're kind of sitting back waiting to see what's going to happen because they know about 30% of the houses fall out during due diligence, right? So why should they waste their time doing the title searches on something that's not going to close? But after due diligence, we kind of give them a heads up, like, hey, we'd like to schedule the closing, at 12 o'clock on May 30th. And they're like, oh, okay. And that's when the wheels start, rolling.
But I thought we'd schedule the closing as soon as you have a binding agreement.
Well, but we're scheduling time. We scheduled the date, but now we
Oh, I didn't realize that.
We said, okay, the 30th, and we wanted it at noon. Oh, okay, now we're serious.
Oh.
We've gotten to the point we have a date and a time.
So if you're scheduling a date, how does that really work? Do they literally say, okay, we've got 8 people scheduled for a date, now the times are TBD? Do they actually hold something for you on that
They
day?
know that, they've got a tentatives for that day.
Uh-huh.
And like for Organic, they've got, there's Renee and there's Paul. So they can basically run 16 closings a day, if they have to.
Oh, so it's kind of probably like the airline, like they overbook initially.
Have your attention, please.
Oh.
An emergency has been reported in the building. I repeat, an emergency has been reported in the building.
I feel like there would be like an active shooter.
That's what scares me too.
There would be. I want to go hide in the desk in the closet.
Okay.
Do we lock the doors or? That is scary, doesn't it? I wouldn't be locking, I would be locking the doors and ducking. Has that happened?
You should fire them. They haven't had fire drill in a while, but. So the tile company really isn't starting, their stuff until, they're pretty sure.
And first floor has been investigated and there is no emergency.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen.
Somebody tripped something.
The previous alarm you heard was ground floor.
So they're not really working on the title until they've actually know that there's a pretty good chance that it's going to. So they're, at that point, they start ordering payoff letters. They've already sent information to the information letter to the seller and information letter to the buyer to get social security numbers, get account numbers for their mortgages and stuff like that, so they can get payoff letters and all that stuff. They're also working on the HOA because they're having to get the letter from the HOA that says that whether or not the seller is current, what the fees are involved in transferring membership from the owner to the buyer. So, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that, you're not really having to worry about too much. Then at the same time, you've got your loan officer. Once they're out of due diligence, they kind of really start ramping up. We let them know like immediately. Sometimes we're finished with due diligence early, which I love because, it just kind of gets the ball rolling and everything else a little bit faster. First thing I do is pick up the phone, call the lender and say, okay, we're out of due diligence, let's go ahead and order the appraisal. And sometimes we've even ordered the appraisal while we're in due diligence to take place the day after due diligence starts, because I don't want to waste any time. I've got these things, lined up and out, organized. In the loan stuff, they're probably going to be updating records if the buyer's pre-approval is more than 30 days old. They're probably going to get updated W-2s. They're going to be double checking to make sure they're still employed. True story. We had a closing one time where we called the day before. I worked for a builder at the time, and I was running the contract to close, and the title company was actually in the same building. And I called just standard procedure just to verify that they were still employed, and there was like this long silence. I said, hi, I'm just calling to confirm Jack Smith's employment, and there's like this long silence. They went, he died.
Oh.
I'm like, what? He had a heart attack last week. His funeral was like last Friday.
Oh my
It's
God.
like, does Mrs. Smith know this? It was just like, so I called Mrs. Smith, and I've been talking to Mrs. Smith now for like 3 days, and Mrs. Smith is,
Okay, so that makes it interesting.
she's good to go. And I said, will Mr. Smith be there? Oh yes.
What?
Really?
In spirit.
Interesting.
It's spirit. Oh my gosh.
Great. Okay. So this is in Florida. So the closings are run by the title companies in Florida. So we told the gal, the title company, that make sure you get ID on this guy. See, before then it was kind of, they usually got ID, but maybe if it, or it was friendly and blah blah blah.
Sorry, I know Travis just sent everybody an email. Hey, Rachel. And I'm gonna tell him, don't send an email to everybody while class is going on. So wait till y'all are on break or after class, because he's got some great stuff in there.
About 3 minutes.
Till break,
I'm getting nervous. An emergency, and she comes in. Travis sent an email. I'm like,
know.
what's going on?
Yeah.
So anyway, closing day
Oh,
comes. This man, woman, Mr. and Mrs. Smith walk in, and we're all kind of going. And yeah, they're in there, and my office was like around the corner, so I could hear the conference room. And she left the door open because she knew I was here. And she signs, says, "Okay, before we get started, I just need everybody's ID." And she rips hers out and puts it on the table. And he does, you have to pat down. "Ah, man, sorry, I left my wallet out in the car." And she's, "Okay, we'll wait."
Yeah.
And the wife's starting to,
Oh.
Was it her lover?
and and so he walks out, and so I walk over and look out the window, and he's out in the car, and he's just sitting there. He's not doing anything, just kind of sitting there going, "No, no what?" And he's out there for like 5 minutes, and then he comes back in, and he goes, "I feel like an idiot." He goes, "I've left my wallet, at home." He goes, "Honey, you're gonna have to drive home," or like that. "I don't have my license." And the title gal goes, "Well, unfortunately, we may have to postpone the closing then, because we've had a report that Mr. Smith died last week." And all of a sudden, the wife, widow, turns around to this guy and says, "I told you this wasn't going to work."
I swear that's her. This is like Dirty John sounding. It sounds like it was her lover and she killed the husband. They didn't
It was her brother.
Oh.
And it was in a really, ritzy part of Miami, Doral Country Club. I don't think
I
it's
heard
as ritzy
that.
as it
Yeah.
used to be. But
Of course they're done.
very ritzy. It was a townhome. She was moving in with all her friends, and she was absolutely furious with her husband for dropping dead because now she couldn't move into her condo. Now, she could after the insurance came through,
Right.
but she didn't want to wait that long because she figured, okay, the insurance is going to come through. I'm just going to pay off the mortgage anyway. Nobody will know.
Isn't that fraud though? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Did y'all call
Mega
anybody
fraud.
about
Major
this?
fraud.
Did your company call anybody about it or not?
No, because she didn't sign anything.
Mhm.
I mean, this was all before she had started signing stuff. I mean, I guess we could have made an argument that she didn't tell us and she had tried to commit, but at that point, she bought it. And we wanted her to buy it. I mean, we just didn't want her to buy it illegally.
Yeah.
And what finally ended up happening is that, she got her insurance like in 2 months. We held it for her and she bought it, and that was that. But it was, she was just, grief does weird things to people. But she was furious with this guy for dropping dead so she couldn't move into it with her friends. This was her brother, and her brother said, "No, don't come along. I'm dumb and stupid." Nobody, seemed to tell us, you are committing major mortgage fraud here.
Wow.
And I didn't think anybody would notice.
Oh, that's
It's kind of
crazy.
like, really?
Wow.
That's crazy.
We did have one closing where the guy murdered his wife.
oh my gosh. And you said you've been doing this for. Oh no, but you work for a builder and stuff too.
No, this is when I was vice president for mortgage policy.
Okay.
Run it back in
that's
South
right.
Florida. And
Where did they? My mom used to work for
a lot of people work for it.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I never heard of it.
But I had Miami and, I had Dade and Broward counties, thank you. I had about 55 offices, and I trained all the loan officers, and I did all the stuff from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and FHA and VA, and kind of incorporated that. I'd done some underwriting, and wasn't really doing underwriting at that point, but I was kind of doing like special handling folks. So we had this special handler guy came in. He was refinancing his Palm Beach mansion, and he was going to take out like $1 million out of it, and there was plenty there. He could take it out. But unfortunately, he was in the middle of a divorce, and since Florida is a homestead state, wifey had to sign off on it, until the divorce was final. There was no way on God's green earth this guy was going to allow her to sign anything because, that's why they're getting a divorce. doesn't want anything to do with her anymore. And I said, well, we're kind of stuck because, yeah, we need her signature. Or else you can wait until after the divorce or whatever. He's like, okay. So a week later, I get this phone call. She said we could go ahead with the refi now.
He called you and said that?
And I'm like, pardon me?
Wow.
He goes, she died. And I'm like,
That just
well, I'm
sounds
so sorry.
so-
And he goes, it's fine. I'm like, he goes, can we go ahead and get this, can we go ahead and get this,
Like,
it gets better.
Oh
It gets
my
better. It gets lots better.
really smooth. You need that movie.
What happened, and it turns out it was here in Atlanta, and it was all over the front pages because what had happened is that the morning of the divorce, her doorbell rang. She went to the door, opened the door, there was a florist there, pulled a gun out.
I think I heard about this.
Yes.
This wasn't Fred Tedcars, was it?
No, this was the front door. It was, God, start with an S. No, he had somebody kill his wife.
That's right, he did, yeah.
But this was one, he owned a bunch of liquor stores. And
Bunch of what stores?
bunch of liquor stores.
Uh-huh.
And he hired these two guys to go up. They pulled the gun out of this, florist box, killed her, hopped in. They ran up 85, called him from the rest stop that used to be up there on 85 near 985, and apparently reported in that all was done. So it's all over the front page, all over because she was like some little society
Yeah. When did
gal
that
that
happen? I think I
everybody.
remember hearing
The divorce had gotten a lot of coverage and everything. So, of course, I'm in Miami. I don't know any of this because we don't have internet. We don't know. So I said, we'll walk across the street to the library and see what the Atlanta paper, if it's in the Atlanta paper. Well, yeah, it was in the Atlanta paper. It was all over the front page for 3 days. It was like, damn. So I had to go back to him and go, excuse me, Mr. Sullivan, Jim Sullivan. Excuse me, Mr. Sullivan, but, since
Lita
she...
Sullivan was her name.
Lita Sullivan.
That was a big
Remember
case,
that.
yeah.
Wow.
Thank you. I was the underwriter. So we're sitting there. And
You knew about this stuff. You could be Dirty John part
oh no,
two.
I tested. There was depositions as far as timing and everything.
That's great.
And we saw this and we were like, And then at one point he said, well, she's died. Well, she's died. I need, I'm going to need a death certificate because otherwise we still need to take her out of the process. He goes, okay, so he sends me a death certificate, and I walk down, I hand it to the processor, I said, go ahead and work out, Jim Sullivan's file for underwriting. And she goes, okay. I can hear her, like, opening the envelope, and she takes it out, and she goes, oh my God, we killed her! And I'm like, what? Flying around, cause of death, gunshot wound to the head. And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, Mr. Sullivan, we have to wait until your wife's estate's probated before we can do this. And anyway, they did eventually end up catching the guys. They fingered him, and then he had left the country. He was living in Thailand. They found him about 10 years ago in Thailand and brought him back. And he stood trial, and he's in jail now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Where did he live? Where in Atlanta did he live?
Some place in Buckhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Miami, so I didn't really
How long
know.
ago was that?
Oh, this was like in the 80s.
But they just found, didn't they just close the case recently? More
10 years
recently?
ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was gone for like 20 years. Yeah, living the life in Thailand.
That's crazy.
And then they got
You held a conversation with
Huh?
a murder.
Do
I
what?
said you held a conversation with a murder.
She said she was involved in the case, right?
Well, yeah, because as soon as that happened, I mean, police were all over us because when it became obvious that he was trying to move funds around and everything, we had to testify as far as deadlines and dates and who told what, when, where, and everything.
We were signing up for it all.
So yeah, that was a crazy position. I was terrified when they brought him back because I thought, oh my God, do they know I moved to Atlanta? They didn't bring it after that.
I'm sure you weren't the only one to testify.
No, there was plenty of other evidence that he knew me, but it was just it was yeah. So yeah,
And all he did was own liquor stores?
a bunch of liquor
Probably money laundering.
Probably
Stories.
so. He was probably working for somebody.
Well, they were working for him. I'm not sure what it was. Anyway, he was in jail, so don't worry about him anymore. But that was an interesting place too. but most closings are pretty vanilla. They come in, they sign their paperwork, everybody shakes hands, they're talking about the neighbors, they're talking about their dogs, talking about their kids. You know, it's very chatty across the table. If it has been a very acrimonious process where you kind of get the feeling that one of them is going to lunge across the table and, you know, check the other person's neck, you can ask the attorney for separate offices, or the seller can come in early and sign papers, and then the buyer comes in later and signs papers. You can manage that process. They don't all have to be at the table at the same time. Because, I mean, the one thing you don't want to be in the middle of a fight when they're, you know, just everybody just sign. Everybody's happy. Everybody's got what they wanted. Okay, this is all just fine. But yeah, and the attorneys will work with you on that. But so other escrow instructions, you know, the lender is actually working with the bank. You know, not the bank. The lender is actually working with the closing attorney, and the closing attorney is working as their agent because they're sending them all the paperwork. As a buyer, you may be able to choose the attorney, but the attorney is actually working with the lender in order to get this closed. So what you're keeping in mind is that like 3 days before the closing, there's a disclosure that has to go out, called a closing disclosure. And if it does not go out 3 days before closing, you do not close. It is a federal law. It went into effect about 3 years ago. And it is 11:40. I've been running my mouth for an hour and a half. I'm gonna give you guys a break.
How do you remember all this stuff? Do you have this, like, reminders on your calendar?
We'll talk about that.
Oh, okay, good.
We'll talk about that. That comes into systems.
Okay.
I'm just kind of going through the whole process right now, so everybody kind of knows what's.
I have a quick question for you. Going back to that ad I showed you this morning. So I was going back thinking, I had downloaded all the stuff, and I'm looking at the images, free image sites. So I pulled this from Canva, my picture. Where is it? So if I take it out, I'm like, what do I use?
It's not going to be on the internet. It's going to be on the internet.
To 100. But I could at least screenshot by photo mix from free photos, royalty free. Like I could at least.
I mean,
I just don't want to put on a billboard.
yeah.
Or
Well, like we did have one agent here in the office that they got a bill for $85 because she took a cartoon, and it was like a cartoon character was holding a sign, and I forget, it was like in front of a house or something, and she just changed the wording on the sign to reflect, and it was on a newsletter. You know, they just got sent out to, you know, like 400 of my clients. Okay, big deal. But they had a link to the newsletter on her website, and bots found it. And they found it and said, yep, that's ours. They stuck a meta tag. So they ended up taking they ended up sending her a bill for $85 for unauthorized use of the
trying to find their
intellectual
photo,
property.
trying to find their photo policy there, so I could. On Canva.
With Canva, as long as you buy it, I think it's yours, isn't it?
Well, but it says it's free.
Okay, well then, because they have some that you can buy. I think I got a subscription like $10 a month or something for like lots and lots and lots of pictures. But the free ones I think you just use. As long as you're not using it on the internet, if you're not like I know Snap, one of the photo places.
Snapfish?
Snapfish, yeah. They have this Shutterfly. They have this thing where if you're using it on the internet, if you're using it for printed publications of less than 10,000, then it's like one price. If you're using it on the internet and it's being seen by hundreds and thousands of people, it's like another price. So.
Yeah, and they're making it really hard to find their.
If it's just going in a little one-time thing like that, I wouldn't worry about it.
Well, then I'll just send it to. I send it to Brad and Lynn at the same time and ask them to review it.
Sure, it'll be fine.
Okay.
It's only when you start advertising houses specifically that, all the rest of the stuff kicks in as far as what information you're giving out. You were showing houses this morning?
Yes, in Smyrna.
Fun.
I'm loving Smyrna. Let me tell you. We've like moved around like our leads and stuff, and it's so nice being in Smyrna now. Those price points are so much better. Like, oh my gosh, it's so nice.
Where were they looking for?
So they live in a townhome right now, one of those like 3-story ones. It's right off of East West Connector. I can't remember the neighborhood. And right now they're just kind of like getting a feel for what's out there. But I feel really good about them, so I'm like, yeah, I'll keep showing you, because I showed them on was that Saturday? Yeah, I showed them on Saturday as well. And they're wanting single family now, detached, but they basically still want the townhome lifestyle, like no yard. They don't want to deal with all of
They're a
that.
cluster home.
Right, exactly.
How old are they?
I can't tell how old they are. They're definitely older. I'd say probably late 40s, early 50s.
Do they qualify for a 55 and over community?
They have a kid. Yeah, I don't know if... Okay, yeah, because they have a kid, and that's part of why they want to move. They want to get rid of that third level. They're okay with a 2-story. They prefer a 2-story, but they don't, want to have that third level anymore. And they also want a neighborhood that's got some more kids or more kid-friendly setup. Like the playground, the tennis, the pool, all of that. So, what would you suggest on like how to get a feel for what the neighborhood is like as far as like kids and all that stuff goes?
I would be hanging around there about 3 o'clock when the bus is letting out.
You genius woman, you. Because I'm always like, how should I figure that out?
Also, you can go to the schools
Mhm.
and you can look at the demographics in schools
Okay.
on the Georgia Department of Education website. And some of the schools will have links to their own reporting, but some of them don't. Just depends. But Cobb County's pretty good, with posting those demographics and stuff. So you can actually see how many people are on getting, food stamps for lunch. How many,
Right.
you can see the whole demographics as far as ethnicity, males, females. I don't know if they're doing gender biases now, but probably one of these days. but anyway, but yeah, you can kind of tell from the elementary school, not so much the high school, the middle school, because they pull from a much broader area, but
Right.
the elementary school can give
Elementary
you a
is
good feel.
like neighborhood, more
Slices.
neighborhood specific. Okay, cool. Thank you.
But yeah, just sometimes kind of being there when the bus lets out just kind of tells you a lot.
That's very smart. That's what I will be doing on my way home today. I didn't even think about that. I did not even think about that. But yeah, it's
See, during the summer, when the kids are down at the playground or they're at the pool, just wander by, just
right.
take a look.
Yeah, that's smart.
I'm gonna grab some water. Cold in here too. It is chilly. I have my sweater. I should actually wear it. I know I wanted to dress for these things. As soon as over, so I can get it out. Okay. Where is it? Oh, that's not the one. So where's it downloaded to? What? I'm gonna try. Better not be giving me a hard time.
anybody checked Travis's email yet?
I don't have an email from Travis.
Let me see if I got one.
I know it's exciting, like he's got a listing or something.
Well, I don't know.
Wonder when he sent it. I don't have one either. Well, it might be. Let's see.
I get email.
You did or did not? Somehow, I think my KW emails are merging with my personal one, which I was trying to keep them separate. I don't know how to just do the KW one.
Unless you've actually had them, unless you've actually had them transferred, they should be separate.
No, so what did Travis say or do? And I don't.
Maybe he sent a text message. Let's see if that's what he did. I bet he sent a text.
Yeah, I have gotten a few texts. Oh wait.
Hey guys, Diana's teaching.
Oh,
No, that's
I
from
think that
Stacy.
is.
Diana's teaching. Conversation out of group mode. Oh, let's see. Here we go.
I don't have
Travis. This weekend he had an open house.
Oh gosh. Homeland Security.
Did you
said-
get it? Did you get it? His text? It's in a string of text. Do you want me to read it?
He said,
Hey everyone, this weekend I had an open house, and as you all know, we've been told to get people to sign in at them. A couple of you may be familiar with the electronic sign-in sheet that Marco, I don't know who Marco is, uses, and pays $25 to $40 a month to have.
I forgot the,
I'm
I forgot
just
his
reading
tablet.
it.
He was honestly.
I don't know about that. I came up with an idea this weekend that uses our already provided site and the Google Forms that Stacy showed us last week, and it's free to use. MyGeorgiaAgent.com is what it is. Take a look here. Obviously, the questions are customizable if you want more or less information. If anyone would like me to help them set up something similar on their website, please let me know, and I will be happy to walk you through it or after one of our classes some future time. Yeah, I want to set it up for me.
Oh, I was worried if something
Yeah.
else. So maybe, the time that emergency thing came on,
Yeah.
I got a text from the school saying APS was informed this morning by the APD that Homeland Security that FBI is investigating a social media threat against a school in Atlanta. Doesn't say which school. It says the threat was not specific to APS, but we take it very seriously. Schools are on high alert, and we are working in coordination with APD and FBI on the investigation. So I'm actually wondering if, because of the timing, they might have a protocol to alert so that maybe all of their building security knows to call or something.
I think about when that went off. think about, do you remember years ago, I was coming back from Europe, I was on Florida with my son coming back from Europe, he was in the 8th grade, this was a long time ago. And there was a guy named Mark Barton, I still remember, that he had entered the Buckhead, those Buckhead things, and was went up to the third floor. And I had my investment planner worked on the 4th floor of that building, that's why I remember it so well. But he started going through.
I remember that too.
Because he had lost, remember he was a penny trader and he lost all that money
that's
in the
right.
stock market. So he was taking it out on that. I still remember that
That's
going
so
through.
I need to know where the exit turns.
The first thing, not personal, is lock that door.
Well, you're not
Second
supposed to
off.
track your school. You are, and sometimes you are. And
Well,
you're
if you
not.
don't know.
Yeah.
Do you really want to walk, like if I were Diana, I would have texted.
I was
Rather
literally
somebody
texting my
try-
boyfriend right now, and I
I
was
would
like,
text someone
"Hi,
saying
don't know
what's
what's
going
going
on.
on, let you know."
What's going on? You don't want to
I really wanna
you don't want
know
to
where the-
overreact at the same time.
I know.
If you don't,
I know.
But
it could be,
yeah.
you know, I mean, I'm sitting there going, okay, there's a closet right there, and there's that door, and a closet, hide in the closet.
It's so freaking scary, like
Oh, with the
all
stuff going on now.
Yeah, it's so
The
freaky.
media has given people instant recognition. These
Mhm.
nut cases has given them instant recognition. Because
And they get more recognition than the victims.
yeah,
And I'm just like, and then they like make a big deal about like if they have like any mental disorders, like the guy that was at UNC.
oh
Yeah.
I have a.
They're like, oh, he was autistic and had this and this. It's like it doesn't matter. He was smart enough to get himself to college,
I don't
to get
care.
a gun and to shoot people.
I don't
like,
care.
Yeah.
I'm not-
Yeah,
Yeah.
lock him up,
if they're
give
that.
him the chair.
Yeah.
I don't care.
My
Yeah.
mentee, I mentored a girl from Spelman, and she's a PhD student at UNC Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly how close it was, but all I heard, because I heard it over social media, that she skipped class, like skipped going back there.
Yeah.
So she avoided being in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And she's pregnant too, so I
Oh
think
my
that must be
gosh.
why she skipped class.
Yeah, that's so scary.
Oh, we're just talking about, so I actually think that alarm might not have been totally, because at the same time roughly, I got a message from APS saying that there's a social media threat on a school and the FBI and Homeland Security is investigating. So they might have a building protocol that's like, hey, there's something
That
happening in
automatically
Atlanta.
alerts.
Because they don't know what school it is, it's just a school.
There's no school here.
I know, but I'm thinking that if you've got FBI and Homeland
Unless you're just
Security,
alerting everybody.
They're all,
Yeah.
they're all over the place.
but you might want to
Right.
notify.
Okay, so let's, we're having Ryan, okay. One quick thing, done.
Now my daughter's gonna tell me, see, you told you shouldn't have you go to school.
Do what?
She's took high school math, and so they're done and they're doing milestones, but they took their test last week. So there's been this ongoing thing, are kids going to school or not? And we take the position of school's not canceled, so you're going to school. And she's been trying to get out of going to school, because it's like an unexcused absence if she doesn't go.
Okay, so, CDs. CDs are issued by the lender. They are a pretty accurate indication of the closing costs that are gonna be required, from the buyer. And if the buyer does not get it 3 days prior to, then it doesn't happen. It's not because the lender's being a nudge, it's just because federal law, they can get fined rather heavily if they don't. If the closing disclosure comes to the buyer, they're like, well, ooh, you told me this cost was gonna be this and not that. And there's, some of the costs have some leeway of like a certain percentage of how they can vary. And others of them have to be pretty darn close. So if one of them was not correct, then they have to go back and redo the CD. So, kind of give your buyer a heads up that, the CD is coming, call the lender the day before. Are we on track for the CD? Just making sure that everybody's on the same page. Because sometimes lender forgets. Or else, they haven't gotten something back, or they just don't they don't realize that, yeah, I've got my closing in 3 days, not next week. You know, I need this to go out today. And you have to have closings canceled because of that. And it is miserable. And you have a closing scheduled for a Friday, and all of a sudden the buyers don't have a CD because the lender forgot to give it to them, or whatever. And you're having to postpone it till Monday. Oh, it's postponed till Monday. You don't understand. People have moving trucks. It's a weekend. You know, all the stuff is going to happen this weekend, and now it's not because some, you know, body over at the lender just kind of dropped the ball. So that's kind of your ball too. So you're kind of keeping that one in the air. I mean, we hope they're doing the job. You know, we expect them to do their job, but sometimes a little gentle reminder. It's not this. So after the closing disclosure, everybody's going to closing. Hopefully by that point everybody's happy signing. It takes about an hour for closing. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. Normally the buyer has already wired their funds to the closing attorney, and the closing attorney already has all the funds in place. If they're getting a mortgage, then they sign a bunch of papers, and then they have to send the papers back to the bank by fax so that the bank can check them to make sure everything's signed properly. That can take 5 minutes. It can take 2 hours. I've been in closings that lasted 3 hours while we were waiting for the funding. Those were not fun. Because we kind of run out of small talk after the first hour. And everybody's kind of sitting around the table on their phones, looking at their watches. A lot of times I'll just leave because, you know, they can just leave because they've got their keys and everything. It's going to fund. It's just a question of how long it's going to take. So once all the money's in, everybody walks away. Buyer has a key. You know, seller has money. Buyer has no money. And you know the different ways you can get paid here at Keller Williams, right? You can get paid at closing. If you, a few days before the closing, if you let Lauren know, there's a form that you fill out and you put it in your loop. It's called Pay at Close. And so that you walk away from the closing not only with the check for Keller Williams, but also with a check made out to you. So you can run by the bank on your way back to the office to put the check in.
I wanted more deposit.
Yeah, there are some people who have been doing this a long time. You know, they still love to have that check in their hand. Just like to be able to. That's the routine. They go to the closing, they go to the bank. Closing, bank. But to be honest, Ellie and Lauren are very quick on turning it around. I mean, they usually have it in your account within 24 hours. You know, they say 48, but it's usually by the next day if they can get it. If they can get it in before the end of the day. Sometimes if you got 4 o'clock closing, it doesn't work that way. But you're probably not going to have access to your funds anyway. So after that, the closing attorney takes all those documents down to the courthouse and everything gets recorded. They send it back to the buyer or the seller, whoever, you know, whatever's appropriate. And that should probably be it as far as the lender's concerned and as far as the buyer's concerned. Now, is that it as far as you're concerned?
You gotta get paid already?
Hmm?
I said, have I been paid already? At this point?
That's one part of it, but I know we all want to get paid and everything. Like I said, you're the one keeping the ball in the air on these things. I use a Google Calendar. I don't care if you use a paper calendar. I don't care if you use a calendar. I don't care what kind of calendar you use. You've got to use a calendar, guys, because you think you can keep these deadlines in your head, and once you've got more than one, you know, they all start running together. I mean, best of intentions, it just falls apart, and you do not want to wake up the day after the appraisal contingency to discover that, oh, haven't they gotten the appraisal yet? Because don't you know that is exactly what's going to come in under value. And you haven't protected your buyer because now they're stuck having to buy this house, you know, that's not appraised. So they're having to come with extra money. And if they decide to bail, they don't get their earnest money because they did not address it within the period of time that was required.
Do we have a project management tool with all of our goods?
Define project management.
So a project management tool is better than a calendar in that you can set it up, replicate it, and then it'll push you notifications. And then if you make a change, it'll automatically adjust everything potentially down the line.
Command is gonna have something like
Okay.
that, they're working on that. One of the things that, there is a thing in Dotloop, that has a closing, it's a closing checklist, and you can use it to put in dates and stuff, and kind of keep everybody, let's see. I don't know how you all set up your loops. We try to get you all setting it up a specific way. In this one, it's a buyer, and we're asking them, we have two different folders. One is for buyer brokerage, and the other one is for contract docs. So everything that goes into the contract goes into this folder. Everything that goes into the buyer brokerage, which is really basically three things: your buyer brokerage agreement, your wire fraud, and your related market disclosure. So we have those set up. What you can do from here, you go to the bottom of this. It says add tasks, and you can load a template. And everybody goes, ooh, what's that? Oh, look at that. It's a contract to close checklist. You can add that. And it has quite an extensive list of things
Wow.
that have to happen on a closing. And you can set the dates over here, and they will push the notifications for you. So that's one thing. I know the project management stuff that you're talking about, Google actually has one on the email that if they know you're a real estate agent, you've probably been pushed on it several times. It's Folio, and you can actually invite, your buyers into it. They can see the deadlines, and all the emails that you're doing will actually go, that have that address or have those people in it, will be pushed to this portfolio so that you can just open it up and you can see all the emails that have to do with that transaction all over the place. It's kind of cool. So anyway, this kind of gives you the dates about when things were happening. Review the contract, all this stuff. Complete the important dates. Important dates. What are important dates? We've already kind of gone over those. The
Binding agreement.
Right, the binding agreement, the earnest money, the appraisal, the financial contingency. There's actually a document in our draft forms here. It's called important dates. And you can fill it out and just put the dates in there. And nobody has to sign it. It's just a notification of what these dates are. It has the listing agent's contact information, it's the buyer's contact information, it's the name of the buyer, name of the seller. It has the lender's information on there, it has the closing attorney's information on there. It just kind of puts it out there for everybody. Some people do their own. There's one agent that has like a cute little calendar that's all color coded and everything. I personally don't have time for that, but she likes it. So there's lots of different ways, but that is the easiest way to kind of put that out there. The very first thing is say, okay, here are the dates I'm working with. Do you agree? And hopefully, the listing agent or the buyer agent will come back and say, yes, those correspond with mine. Now, people get tripped up when you have that little clause in there that says, deadline is extended to the next business day, blah, blah, blah. They keep putting them on weekends, and you keep saying, nope, it's Tuesday. It's not Sunday, it's Tuesday. So you just have to kind of, it's kind of a double check for everybody. If it's your listing, you need to change the status in FMLS and Georgia MLS. Anyway, all these things are on here. You're getting the CBS code. Y'all know the CBS code? Code broker. Anyway, it means that not only do they have to have a super key to get in, but they also have to have an extra code because just the super key isn't going to work. And we give that to, a lot of appraisers have that, a lot of contractors have one, a lot of photographers have one. You know, they can give it to everyone else. Now, the thing is, they can't just be like us, they just can't go into a house willy-nilly because there's a lock box on it. They actually have to, we give them the code in order, because that's how we control who goes in if you're not an agent. So we either need to get that from the listing agent or we provide it, you know, as the listing agent. Where's some of the other stuff on here? Deposit the check to us, get a copy of it from the co-broker. Confirm the close of attorney. There's a couple of things in here mixed up for buyer or seller. We were going to do two different lists, but we decided to make one big list, and then you just, if you don't need it or anything like that, it's going to be here, just delete it.
So if there was a template, because I saw at the top of the page a template, is there oh no. How does this get, so this is just a task list, right?
Mhm.
This doesn't give suggested timing, or does it?
Not really, because your timing is kind of suggested by your contract. I mean,
Okay.
it tends to follow in the flow of how, I mean, it doesn't tell you to worry about the appraisal and you're just worried about the earnest money.
Do you use this?
I read it.
Oh, tasks. Okay, well then I'm definitely gonna use it then. So you actually wrote out all the tasks. Oh, okay, cool.
Now,
No, it's
if
a
you-
trusted source.
well, but, yeah, but different people do it different ways, and that
Right.
way, you know, feel free to take it, copy it, you know, make it your own.
Right, I feel like it's
And
starting
do your
point.
own task list, I mean, whatever makes sense to you, I mean, it's here, it's available for you.
Mhm.
You don't
I said
have-
one in the book.
Huh? I
So
think
it's
one
one-
book. The one in the book tends to be kind of California-centric for some reason. It keeps talking about escrow, you know, out of escrow, in and out of escrow.
It says deliver earnest money to listing agent. That was
Yeah.
one of the things.
Well, which we don't do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of, they had to kind of do something on a national basis, but, you know. I mean, it's got some, it hits the high spots. I'm not sure I'd use it as, you know, my go-to list. I'd use it as a suggestion to build one here in Georgia. So anyway, you can use it, like I said, use it. There's one in there for listings also. It, you know, it's kind of rudimentary because people can go big on listings or they can go small on listings, or they may not do anything because they sell it before they even get it listed. So but it's kind of, you know, we didn't go into a lot of detail on that one, but just kind of did your basic, you know, FMLS, Georgia MLS, put it in the office, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, you gotta have some kind of way of keeping track of this stuff. If it's a Google Calendar, if it's a written calendar that you sleep with under your pillow at night, something that you have access to, you know, just as soon as you can, something that's easily changeable, something that's easily, can be amended. Dates change. I use a Google Calendar. I go through, I have my important dates, I go through and put all my important dates on there, and I have them on a 48-hour advance notice. You know, 2 days from now, you have your earnest money due. You know, 2 days from now, you have your appraisal due. You know, just kind of give myself kind of a heads up that, you know, oh, okay, or I can say, oh yeah, done that. Don't have to worry about that. You know, whatever. Some people are still using paper files, and I just brought one as an example. This is one. This is a divided one. It has two little dividers in the middle. Kind of looks unprofessional, guys, when you're walking around with manila folder and papers are just falling out of it willy-nilly. I mean, it doesn't give your buyer or your seller a lot of confidence that their confidential information is actually under control. So, you know, put it in the manila folder, but secure it somehow. I mean, I've been to a closing. I tucked a check in there with the closing. Opened it. No check. It was falling out when I was walking out to my car. It was out in the parking deck. Luckily, somebody from the office found it because they were walking out the same way. They saw the check and they saw it was made out to Gannick. And then they brought it back in and they say, hey, we found this out in the car. And they called me at the closing and You got your check, it's out in the parking lot. But, so now I'm a little obsessive, I put it in there.
Just a question, because I'm trying to organize my personal Google Calendar with I was originally going to do a Keller Williams calendar on Google and then my personal calendar. And I think I'm just curious how you do it. Do you do your personal with your Keller Williams and then just?
They're all together because.
Yeah, because it's still your time.
That's my life.
Okay. Because I was over-organizing it, I think, and it's
Yeah, I mean,
probably better just to do that.
Well,
than-
sometimes you have to set aside time for workout. You have to set aside time, me time. You have to set aside time. I mean, I have, gotta tell you, I have Atlanta United on the calendar. Nothing interferes with it.
It's an important appointment. It's an important
I can look down,
Yeah.
showing, sorry, can't show you showings
Yeah.
for Wednesday night, but I'm going to show you Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to have a life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so are you.
That's why you're doing it.
Partially. I mean, if I've got, family in for the weekend, then that weekend's, that morning's, crossed off, or that evening's crossed off, or whatever. Now, if I'm in active negotiations, everything kind of gets thrown out the window because you've got to react, on a timely basis. The one thing I despise is that hi, if this is after 7 o'clock, I'll return your call next business day.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that.
But sometimes there are people with small kids. I mean, they're spending the time between 6:30 and 9, homework, bathing, bedtime, putting them back into bed, putting them back into bed. I mean, it's family time. I get it. I'll text.
Yeah.
I love text.
So, anyway, but this is one of the ways that a paper file can be organized. There's like a sheet on the front. It's actually a big sticker. We just print it off, and it has all the information on it in front. Inside is listing information as far as the what it looks like in FMLS and the tax records and stuff. Contract stuff is here. All the stuff that had to do with contracts, all the signed disclosures and everything, all the amendments, the termination. Next page is all the inspection stuff, all the back and forth with the inspection. This is kind of marketing and information that they've been sending us as far as notes that we took when we first met with them. In this case, it was a reload company, so we actually have all the reload information back here too, along with financing information, who they're financed with. And in the back is either they're going to be their listing agreement or their buyer brokerage agreement. So if you're consistent on how you use these, it's really easy when you're going through, because you can say, I need to look at the inspection report. It's always on the next page over here. Now, I will tell you that I have not had a paper file in 3 years. Some people are just old school and they like that paper, and that's fine. If that works for you, that's great. I've been using Dotloop. I've dumped everything in Dotloop for the last 3 years. And it's been great because I can use my phone. I can send it. Did you know that your clients can actually sign in Dotloop on as a text? You can send them a text message and they can sign it as a text.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I had been on my bike out in, Acadia Mountain over there, and Arabian Mountain. I had to get on the top of the mountain to get there, but to send somebody an amendment. No, was that stupid or what? I should. But they're in a panic.
Yeah.
And I just told my husband to go ahead and come back. Anyway, so it's a tool, but it's in Dotloop. I can just send it out and it's done, and I don't, it'll go, and I can have it, if I wanted to send it, the completed document to the other agent, I can have them copied on it, and I know it's gone. I don't have to worry about getting it and turning it around and, sending it over and stuff like that. The only thing I don't like about Dotloop is I can't put pictures in it, because it'd be really cool to be able to store all my photos for these files, but they don't take pictures. So PDFs, but that pretty much, as far as being able to access the documents from, anywhere, any computer, anywhere, I can be on a plane and I can be working on something with a laptop. It just makes it easier for me. I mean, I'm done with paper. I can't. It's just too much. Too many trees. But it's and everything's kind of going electronic anyway. I know Becky Wynn had her thing last week about how to go paperless and everything. You know, she's kind of the same way. She gets this. I mean, we tend to keep these files forever, and sometimes it comes in handy. If you have somebody that you closed with 5 years ago, hey, do you have a copy of my, seller statement? I need it for tax purposes, or whatever. Yeah, I can usually pull it out. Or they could go to the closing attorney, they could pull it out. But it's kind of cool, and you can just rip it off. And just like, yeah, I got it right here. Seriously? Yep, got it. Yep, so I've got a copy of that old survey. Yep, got it. The thing about the closing, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, is that you have gotten through this whole process with these folks. So you have won them as a customer. You have shown them every house in Smyrna. You have shown them, you've been through 2 different lenders because they got turned down by the first one. You've gone through hell and high water with these folks. You've gotten to closing. They've successfully closed. They've got their keys. They're happy. But that's the point where probably 80% of the agents drop the ball. Mm-hmm. Because at that point, they are a satisfied customer. They are golden. They deserve every bit of attention you can lavish on them. And by that, I mean they're on your 33 touch. They're getting invitations to your pie parties at Thanksgiving. They're getting holiday greetings. They're getting invitations to your event up at Gibbs Gardens, where you're inviting your best clients, up for an afternoon, with wine and cheese or something, whatever. You're kind of these are the people that they're happy. They've got their house. They're decorating. To just sit there and just never contact them again is such a tragedy, because these are the people that are going to be recommending people to you. More so if you keep reminding them to. These are the people that are going to be writing you testimonials. These are the people that are going to be rating you 5 stars on Zillow. I mean, these are the people that are talking to their best friends over dinner. Oh my God, my agent was fantastic. Oh well, she saw this, she did that, she did whatever. She gave us a home warranty. I can't believe it, just out of nowhere. I mean, these are the kinds of things that get talked about, and like, oh, I'll see that thing. Oh no, you need to call, or no, you need to call him. He's fantastic. He was so patient. We didn't know what we wanted. This is a person. This is somebody who is either going to make or break you. And after closing out, I do take closing gifts. Sometimes if I've given them a home warranty, I remind them I've given them a home warranty, and that's that. But closing day, I'll send pizza, for the family and for the moving crew. Now, I've only had one person refuse that, because she had white furniture and she did not want the movers, moving her white furniture with greasy hands. Okay. But you may send me a pizza tomorrow night after everybody's in. Well, thank you. Whatever. So I send a pepperoni and a cheese pizza, or I'll call them and say you have a favorite pizza, and they'll tell me, and I'll just have it delivered, paid for. Usually I try to use Papa John's because I can put the tip on there, because otherwise Domino's doesn't let you put the tip on there. And especially this new construction, this poor guy's like wandering around this neighborhood trying to find this house that doesn't exist.
You make a good point though about after the closing, because I was sending notes yesterday and somebody I know used the same agent I did when I bought my house, and I was just like, well, but why should I hesitate? Because I haven't heard from that agent since it closed, so it's fair game.
There is nothing wrong with picking up the phone, 2 or 3 weeks after closing, how's everything going? Do you need the name of my painter? Do you need the name of my landscape guy? Do you need the name of an interior decorator, any challenges you run against. Don't be afraid to call them. I mean, every house is going to have an issue. But you're the resource. Be that resource. Be the source of the font of all real estate knowledge. You know everything. And if you don't, you know where to get it. Use the preferred vendors we have here to start your own vendor list, but feel free to add to the people that you know and trust, and people that have done a good job for other people. And call them. I mean, call them twice a year. How's it going? How does Daisy like school? Does she like her new school? Does she make friends? Blah blah blah. It's just a human element. I mean, they're going to get your emails. They're going to get their holiday readings. They're going to get their spring forward callback, notices, all that stuff. But it's the phone call. It's the personal touch. It's I've known agents who, when they moved into a new neighborhood, because of the school and everything, when the kids were starting school, she sends them a care package. She actually arranges during the summer to, for the kids to go over and look at the school, be familiar with it. She, if she's, she owns this neighborhood. I mean, she knows everybody in it, and she's saying, here, so and so's got kids, your age, blah blah blah, so and so. She'll, get them connected. It's, you just don't dump them in a house and walk away. It's, you've created a relationship. Keep the relationship going. I mean, if you ghost on them, guess who's going to pick them up in 5 or 7 years?
Yeah, me. We're hungry, right? I need clients.
That's after I've got them 3 years
This lady
later.
lives in $1 million
Yeah.
plus home. Hey.
Some people say, like, when do you ask for a testimonial?
Right away.
Well, don't ask at the closing table. They're too distracted. I mean,
Yeah.
you can give them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's one thing that we used to give at closing. You can buy these labels. There's 2 round labels. They're about this size. And she put her logo on them. And it was like paint name, paint color, and it had, you put them on top of your paint, like your paint, and write down what, when you got it, the date and all that stuff, and that way it's kind of labels the paint can.
That's smart.
Cool.
That's cute.
Another one goes through, and she does these labels for, if they've gotten a home warranty, she gets these labels, and she has her logo on it. It says, it has the, usually you can get like the serial number for like an HVAC unit and stuff off of the inspection, and puts the serial number, and goes, you're covered under American Home Shield, and here's the number, and it's like on the water heater, on the HVAC unit, on the side of the refrigerator.
That's even better, yeah.
Something that just kind of reminds them, and Diane got you a homework. But it's something. But it's something that they see, kind of, semi-regularly. Maybe they probably don't go down and stare at their water heater, every time. But every time they go down and change the filter on the furnace, just kind of another kind of cool, useful present. Is 6 months later, send them, find out what the size on the thing was. Just make a note when you're walking through. And send them filters. Cheap. Just it's a drop by. Hi, you've been here 3 months. You guys need new filters. They're like, huh? We didn't know. They weren't talking about filters. But it's just kind of a. I care about you. I love you. Use me again. Some of your friends. Some of yours. One of the things I do when, like for example, when we have open houses and the sellers, have to leave the house, or if, we were doing photography and we really didn't want the sellers there because they were just going to get in the way, I just go to Costco and get movie tickets. And I just hand them movie tickets for the whole family. If it's 5, okay, fine. 5 kids, 3 kids, whatever. Go out and watch a movie on me while we're doing this. Don't worry about it. And I give them a little pop. I put it in a little plastic popcorn container. It's a little package thing. Movies on us. Have fun.
That's it.
We'll see you afterwards.
Leave.
That way they're not sitting across the street watching everybody as they're going in during you. Don't laugh at me, no, they don't. Other than, if they're relocating from here to here, one of the fun things is a city pass. Be kind of careful with that though. You might want to give them a gift card for a city pass because usually it usually expires within a certain period of time. And their first week, they don't have time to run out to Stone Mountain or to, all this other stuff around town. I mean, there's lots of flyers and stuff that the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce provides as far as 50 free things to do in Atlanta, 100 cool things to do, Chattahoochee Nature Center, the Chattahoochee, the National Recreation Area is huge, and a lot of people don't understand that it has so many different ins and outs and trails and places for canoes and stuff like that. And just giving them the brochure from the Chattahoochee recreational area is kind of cool. Sometimes, I've even had some clients who were big outdoor people, and they had a dog and they had to walk them up. I bought them a park pass for the year. $20, $30, what the heck. But they had a park pass and they could go to any of the parks. They lived up in Roswell, so they could go to any of the parks and just park and didn't have to worry about paying for parking for a year. It was just it was like, I don't do it all, I don't do everything for everybody, but you kind of, thoughtful. You're paying attention. That that their favorite restaurant is sushi, rather than Tex-Mex. That they don't like white wine, they like red wine. It's come up in the car while you've been looking at all these houses for 2 months. Just showing that you're paying attention, and because people who care about you pay attention to you. They're interested in you. They're interested in your likes and your dislikes, and that is just kind of goes the extra step in showing it. They better be on your 33, 36 touches. Some people go, well, they've already bought, I don't have to give them 33 touches here because, any positive interaction like that is usually going to generate anywhere between 2 to 5 referrals in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So, you want them sitting at dinner going, what was her name? They're not. Like, who were you using? Oh, whatever. It's like, they don't have to remember your name. You think that, by the time you finish with them, you think they owe you their firstborn male child, but, really, they don't have a reason to remember your name after this unless you are purposeful in making sure that, they understand that, hey, we're buds, we're in a relationship here. Okay, it's 12:30. Do you have any questions for me? I've got one for you. What if the appraisal comes in low? What do?
You can renegotiate.
What side of the table, Mom?
Well, you're the seller.
You pretty much have to be prepared to lower the price.
Yeah. I would, notify the seller, but hey, the appraisal came in low. Maybe do another CMA from my understanding just to figure out why I was so off.
Well, the appraiser's done a CMA for you right there because he's already got the comparables.
Can you call the appraiser and show them your comps? Can you, where's that?
He ignored it.
Pardon? He doesn't care. I'm sorry, what?
He ignored them.
You just have to, you have to be prepared to, it could be a trade-off, because I had that happen to me in a house I was selling. So we ended up lowering the price, but we renegotiated. And then we took off some of the closing costs, because we're like, we don't want to take a complete haircut on this whole thing and end up with less than, So we lowered the price. I don't remember by how much when we took off. I think we split the closing costs or something. Like, okay, we were going to give you 3, so instead we'll give you $1,500. Because the guy was willing to pay more. So that's how we got away with the closing cost thing. Or maybe we took away the closing costs. I don't know. But I mean, he had been willing to pay more, and he was paying cash, so I guess that helped too. It didn't make
That
a
helped.
difference to him. It was
Why'd
less
you get-
cash
why'd you get an
anyway.
appraisal? Was, you know, he's paying
I guess
cash.
he's just being prudent,
Yeah, yeah.
because we were asking more than anybody else had asked in the neighborhood. Because the agent was trying to get the neighborhood prices up. He sells a lot in that neighborhood, so I guess the guy's being prudent. I'm trying to remember, because we had one lady back out, but I mean, I would ask for an appraisal that's paying cash. I don't overpay.
There's several different ways of going about it,
Mhm.
because basically, you're either asking the seller to reduce the price to meet the appraised price. You're asking them to meet you halfway, you know, I'll pay a little, you pay a little, you know, work out, or buyer can, you know, the seller can just say, well, I'm not doing anything, what are you gonna do? You know, and that leaves the buyer kind of hanging, either they can walk, or if they really, really want the house because it's in the best school district in the world, then, you know, they'll make up the difference. Or, yeah, they're, like you said, you know, they'll renegotiate some other items, you know, in the,
Refrigerator, offer to give them a refrigerator, washer, dryer.
something like that.
That's true.
They don't have to move them that way.
Okay. But one of the things a lot of agents don't really do is they don't look at the appraisal. They get an appraisal and they say, you know, here's the appraisal, here's the value, you know, but they don't look, you know, they don't look at each comp, you know. Well, Mr. Appraiser, why did you not give this house credit for 5 bedrooms? They're all above ground, and yet on these you're making adjustments between 3 and 4 bedrooms. So why isn't there a corresponding adjustment for the 5th bedroom? Why is there no corresponding? Why are you only giving them $15,000 for a 2,000 square foot finished basement, and over here the finished basement is 1,500, and you only gave it like 25,000? You know, anomalies like that. I mean, appraisals have come an advantage because I'm an underwriter, so that was my job, is to pick apart appraisals and just line by line by line by line by line. You know, does that make sense? Does this make sense? Does that make sense? Does this make sense? And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're looking at comps, you know, over a mile away, and there's 4 comps right there in the neighborhood. Why are you doing that? You know, why did you do that? Why did you use that? Why did you use this comp? It's throwing everything off. You know, question it. You know, ask for a review. You know, the appraisers. You know, some of them, you know, get their boxers in a wad and go, you know, I've been an appraiser for 4 years. It's fine. That's, oh, okay, fine. You can ask for a second appraisal. You can convince the underwriter that, hey, there's an issue here because look at these comps, and here are the available comps. Why were these not used? If you can show, you know, just cause, for example, they may order you another appraisal. They may say, yeah, you're right. You know, crack the appraisal.
Who orders the appraiser?
The lender.
The lender does, so the lender would do it at their cost?
No,
or
you're paying for it.
You're paying for it?
Well,
Okay.
the buyer's paying for it.
Okay.
But I've had it where the lender agreed that the appraisal was worthless, and they had another one ordered on their own dime because they're the ones that ordered the first one.
Would an appraiser, if you politely question and pointed something out, I mean, I would think they wouldn't really love the fact that somebody else is coming behind them and you're gonna get somebody else. Would they reconsider if they know you're gonna, you know, feel like you're gonna get another appraiser? Or do they not care?
Well, yeah. Well, my first reaction is, you know, hey, Mr. Appraiser, why are we using this house, you know, a mile and a half away when we've got 4 comps right there in the immediate neighborhood? Yeah. Oh, well, I thought it's a better comp. It's a cookie cutter neighborhood. All the houses are like 1, 2, or 3 floor plans, you know. So, you know, and if there's 4 of this floor plan, you know, it's kind of like a, yeah, Mr. Underwriter, can we look at this? You know, it like I said, it's kind of a delicate dance there.
Yeah. We deal with egos, I'm sure.
A lot of times egos, and sometimes the underwriter, depending upon the loan to value, credit score and everything, they might have the power to say, you know, we're good with this. we'll lend on this. It's usually on a case where they have a portfolio loan, like if it's more than 20%, sometimes the banks hold them as assets rather than having to hold the cash for the Federal Reserve. Most of them are sold, but sometimes they get held, depending. So that's kind of where your negotiation skills are coming in. That's kind of where your experience is coming in, because it's tedious. Oh my gosh, it's tedious going line by line to an appraisal. But sometimes, appraisers make mistakes, and sometimes it's a plus instead of a minus. Well, that's $15,000. Hello, there's my value gone.
Didn't somebody have, I can't remember, I heard it in one of our classes, somebody has a list of what different things cost, what kind of value is assigned to different things.
Yeah,
That's one
it's
of
general. I wouldn't use it as a Bible because it's because D.H. Murphy does a list like that for us and kind of
Who does?
D.H. Murphy, it's an appraisal company. They gave us this flyer that said,
okay. Yeah,
like
that's what it was.
a powder room's worth $5, full bathroom's worth 10 to 15 depending on finishes. A kitchen remodel, could be anywhere between $15,000 and $75,000 depending upon, you're putting in high-end Wolf appliances and granite, quartz countertops with the waterfalls on the side and all this stuff. So you really have to kind of go on a case-by-case basis. If you're comparing, if you're comparing a quartz countertops and Wolf, appliances to, Carrera marble and Thermador, it's like okay, about the same, give or take. But you would never.
But if they're a Hot Point, that's all the big
Yeah, if they're
difference.
Hot
You
Point.
get $20,000 difference.
Or if they're 40-year-old GEs.
Yeah, coiled electric.
Yeah. Then we
Yeah.
got issues there. But
Yeah.
but be prepared to do that. And if you get a chance to take an appraisal course on how to read an appraisal and how appraisers look at properties, take it, because it's very, very educational. They had one a couple of years ago where they took a house over here in Dunwoody, and there was about 25 of us following this appraiser around this whole house, big house, and talking about finishes, talking about what do you get for this, what do you get for that. He had all the comps up on the board. Which comps would you use? It was really, really educational.
Which appraiser did you get? Which one was that?
I think that was D.H. Murphy.
There's one I went to before I placed my license. I went with Keller Williams over at Glenridge. They had an appraiser that took all the agents out for 3 hours. We went to a house over there off Northside Drive somewhere.
Yeah, it was
great.
It was actually a CE credit. It was great.
It's good.
So-
Interesting.
Any questions? Any comments? Any concerns? Anything you do different?
Not yet.
So basically, your big ahas in this one should be something along the lines of, if I don't have a calendar, I'm dead, and if I don't have my systems in place to keep track of this stuff, I'm dead, and if I don't follow up with these people afterwards, I'm stupid.
That's Selena. Yeah.
Or else Selena will walk out. I'm going to grab Stacy because I think she's going to talk about the test. So you have a chance to kind of
Okay.
pick her brain on that.
Just give us a pre-test. Just give us a pre-test and let us take it. So we know
My
what
sponsor was like, I think she said hers might have been an open book. I wouldn't even know where to look in the book.
Me
This
neither. I'm so mad I
book.
paid for it.
Do you know what? There were some of them in here for $25.
It would have been like cheaper.
They're $40.
It's
Yeah, and it's
They
all
were selling them for $25 in here for people that wanted a copy. I wonder if we had to have it, because I wouldn't have bought it.
It's good to have. I use it as a reference point sometimes. Because like after class, I'll just go back home and I read it, and I kind of match pieces together.
Yeah.
And what she was talking
That's what,
about.
I mean, I've got notes all over the place.
I
I
don't
just
have
go through
time to
and
go to
highlight
class
them.
half the time.
I can't take notes.
I had,
As
the only
I'm
reason
in
I did
class,
the closet
it
this
doesn't work.
weekend
It
is
doesn't
because
help me.
the hook.
Because I
does and
write down so
doesn't.
much
I've been
stuff
putting
and
it
I'm
on,
like,
putting it on, putting it on.
And then you
Like,
lose what they're saying,
Well,
I do that all the
apparently-
time. I get
Apparently
some.
Stacy had a
uh-uh.
prior engagement, so,
So,
any
no test.
questions about the test?
Yes.
Yeah, is
Yeah,
it
what's
multiple
on?
choice?
What's on
Is
it?
it short?
Gee.
Like, I really, this is the
Well,
first time
good,
I've ever
right.
taken a class and don't feel
Right,
like,
that's
I mean,
it.
it's been a great
Yeah.
class, but I don't feel like I have a
Yeah.
handle on
Yeah,
what we're working toward testing.
yeah, give us a break.
The nature of the test, the type
Well,
of test, the style of
It-
test.
Well, in this class, it's not taught to the test simply because you've got, what, 3-4 weeks worth of, 3-hour classes that, it's not gonna go through and say, oh, give us the 6 things you do for, something that you learned in section 1. It's really, I think it's maybe 50 questions. They're all multiple choice. I'm pretty sure that if you've been awake in most of the classes, you'll do fine. You have to have 75% to pass it.
And if we don't pass, then we take it again.
Then we take it again later. Yeah, and honestly, I think I've had 2 people that didn't pass it over the course of the last 3 years. And one of them, admitted that they did have, processing issues as far as, tests and time and stuff like that, so.
But like, how do we prepare for it,
Yeah.
other than having to come to class? Because that's just not my normal style.
Yeah.
Like, when I hear test, I'm
Because
just
there's not any sample
flashcards
test,
and.
there's no
Well,
sample
you
test.
got your Ignite notebook.
Yeah.
You've got the Ignite stuff online. I just go through that and just kind of remind yourself of processes. Just kind of remind yourself of, like, for example, in a closing, what comes first? Earnest money or appraisal. Just don't overthink the stuff. That can sometimes be, well, it could be this, could be that. Just kind of keep it simple.
Is the test Wednesday? When is our test?
Wednesday. And how long is the test? Or how long is the lab?
It shouldn't
for?
take you very long. I mean, it's 50 questions. It's multiple choice. I mean, if it takes you more than an hour, you're probably overthinking it. Depending on how fast you read. I mean, I think they set aside 3 hours for it. So
Really?
if it takes you 3 hours,
Well, I think
you're
3
a
hours
very,
for the
very
state
slow reader.
Yeah, because the real estate exam was 3 hours.
I was there the whole time on every one of them. I was.
I was
Guys,
done in
honestly,
2 hours.
guys, I'm telling you, this is not rocket science.
I know, I still had to take a chance.
The real estate stuff to me was, it was different because you're having to like remember that, okay, there's a formula for this. Is it this formula or this formula?
Yeah.
At least they kind of gave you kind of a hint, and there's like, okay, a half acre is it 20,000 acres? Is it 23,000 acres? Is it 30,000 acres? What an acre is what?
I
Five,
remember
two, six,
any
four,
of those.
five,
As soon as I took my test and passed, I went,
264.
So, this,
Five, two,
see, I'm
six,
even
four.
remembering
Okay, half
There's
of
a
that-
4 in
okay,
there
okay.
somewhere.
These are going to be.
62.
And you guys, it's not like you've been like learning something and then just leaving it behind. You've been building on it as you go. So, I always ask you all different questions. Have you done this? Have you done it? And you're like, you're remembering it. You know what you know what a buyer brokerage is. You know what a purchase and sale agreement is. You've been through the classes on that. You know how to put one together. You know what goes into a listing presentation. You know what goes into a buyer's presentation.
I gotta go back and review those.
Because you've been building on it. You've been using it. You use the stuff from one class and you build into the next class. It isn't just a whole series of back. So you'll do.
Are you agreeing?
Do you take Rob's?
Just review the Ignite notes and just remind
What
you
kind of
of
one do you
situations and
like?
stuff. And a lot of us haven't taught directly to the book, but I think we've covered most of the areas in it. Like today, I don't know if you noticed, but I think I left off the whole area about what would you do if. But we kind of did that with some of the stories we were doing as far as what happens if the appraisal goes sour? What happens if due diligence falls apart? What happens if
Tests.
so It's not worth it. It's only 50 questions. So, unless y'all have any other questions, I think we're done.
And then class, we have class tomorrow. We don't? Oh, no, we
11:30.
don't.
We have class.
We don't. We have
Wednesday.
sales meeting and
Contract
contracts.
101 from 11:30.
Yeah, I planned to.
The test is Wednesday. So tomorrow contracts 101 for sale.
But we have a class before the test.
Yeah, it's a wrap up.
Okay.
Listen very
Is it like
carefully.
review?
Listen very carefully to the wrap up. And go
Okay.
down real fast.
That was good.
I'll be rushing to the next appointment.
I mean, people ask me how I got here. It's like such a convoluted thing. I was working with a builder
Pre-test.